Here we go.
High above the Hollywood foothills of North Carolina from the Epic Hell Carrier, it is the Confirmed Epic Podcast, the official podcast of the EpicReview.com. I, of course, am your host, the real Brad Bell, and joining me today, as always, is...
Barbecue 17, also known as Jerry Reed.
Also...
Andrew Stokes, a.k.a. Andrew Stokes.
And we are glad to finally have back...
Gina Wiltshire, also known as Gina Beaner.
And we also finally have back...
Kristen, also known as Erithalia.
And we are back. It's been kind of a slow week on the website. DirecTV gave out MLB extra innings, so I apologize for being lazy. And Jerry had an actual reason. He had a death in the family. So we apologize for not getting a lot of content. Hopefully we'll be back on top of that this week, starting with this Confirmed Epic Podcast, where we're going to review one of our most anticipated movies, definitely of the spring, if not the entire year, and that is Captain America: The Winter Soldier, directed by the Russo Brothers. So we're really excited for this episode, and what we're going to do is we'll try to be kind of quick with the news and what we've been checking out, but we do want to cover that because it's been a bit since we've done a podcast. So let's go ahead and start with you, Jerry Reed. What have you been checking out this week?
Well, I've been pretty busy, driving around a lot. Like you said, my grandmother passed away last Monday, so I officiated her funeral and everything. So I've been pretty busy. But I have got into something. Everybody knows I like minifigures. I love like the OMFG figures, Mystical Warriors of the Ring, Muscle, Monster in My Pocket. And I've also kind of got more lately into like plastic army men. Like I had tons of them as a kid, but now you can find all these really weird ones, like on Amazon. Like I ordered one that was a pack of like skeleton warriors. I ordered one that was like different armies of World War II. I ordered one that was like these kind of fantasy knockoff characters.
You're on an Army Man binge now, huh?
I know. I'm just buying like lots, and you can buy like a whole pack sometimes of like 100 of them for $10 or something.
At that price, why wouldn't you buy them?
Exactly. So now I've got like big tubs of plastic army men all over the place, and they're just fun. You can buy like zombie fighters versus zombies and some fantasy sets like D&D kind of characters and stuff.
Sounds really cool, actually. I really want to go check this out.
Man, I'll have to show them to you. I'm going to be reviewing them soon, but I love them. They're neat. I mean, they're so much fun. I don't know what it is about. They don't have any articulation. There's no paint. But there's something just really, really fun about
a nostalgic feel.
Yeah, just
Army
standing them all up like in a row or something.
That's about all you can do with them. Stand them up, right?
You stand them up in like different battle scenes, and I actually
dioramas.
Make dioramas out of them.
You paint them.
So when I was at my my grandmother's house, my uncle was there, and he brought over a remote control helicopter.
That's cool.
And I was like, this is really cool. And so I was flying this remote control helicopter. And I ended up buying one. So I'm thinking about like wanting to put the army men on the ground and then try to knock them over with the remote control.
So you're turning into Sid from Toy Story, basically. I also found these illegal fireworks, and
I am not someone who ever destroys my toys.
I just think you need to recreate that epic scene from 28 Weeks Later with your army men where the helicopter's just coming down and just...
Oh yeah, Hawkeye's in that movie.
Interesting. So cool. I was listening to a local radio show here. This has been about 2 months ago. And they did a feature on people falling in love with, like, inanimate objects. And they had a guy who had a fetish for helicopters. He would go and rent helicopters, buy helicopters, and he would make love to them. And he would actually... I'm not even kidding about this.
So many questions.
If we want to not get too explicit,
too bad this isn't a webisode because my face was epic.
I can't explain the details of this on this podcast.
Please don't.
I'm not going to. Just use your imagination. But
thank you.
Please don't.
He actually got married to a helicopter.
Where's this guy at?
I don't. It was somewhere out west. I can't remember.
In America?
Yeah, in America.
Because we can't marry same-sex couples. We can marry helicopters now.
Yes. I mean, I don't know if it was obviously not an official marriage.
Okay, well,
he had a ceremony with a helicopter, and I was telling somebody about this, and they were like, how did it go? Were they like, do you take this man to be your husband? And all of a sudden you just heard like the helicopter taking off or something.
It was actually a Decepticon.
Yeah.
Like you beat on your chest to sound like you're talking from a helicopter.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm serious. I'm not even making this up. Really happened. What a great country we live in. And I'm glad Captain America fights for our freedom, so we have the freedom to marry a helicopter guy. You know?
Me too.
So, Andrew Stokes, have you been checking anything out this week?
Well, yesterday, to date this podcast, today's Sunday. We're recording this. Yesterday was International Tabletop Day. So I celebrated that with a big tabletop meetup in Charlotte of North Carolina. So I got to play a lot of cool games I haven't played before. I've also played some new games I've gotten recently. King of Tokyo, which some of us played together. And also the card game Summoner Wars. So I've been really on a board game fix lately and really been enjoying those two games. So just celebrating the art of board gaming.
Wow, I didn't know they had an International Tabletop Day.
We
That's
celebrated it
very
last year.
Interesting. We did. Did I?
Some of us did. Well, okay. Actually, last year was the first one, and we had a big board game day. I think I didn't tell anyone that we were celebrating this day. I didn't think about it. I was just like, I'll organize an event, and we hang. I really think most of us were. I know you two were there.
I was.
we were there.
I don't think I was here.
You probably weren't invited, so
I don't think I was here.
Yeah, I might not have been hanging. We might not have been hanging out with you
No,
back
I
then.
don't think so.
So you might have. I think you were. I think we did Cosmic Encounter. Like a big Cosmic Encounter day.
So I was participating
definitely
without
not.
knowing.
I met the first person I've ever met who doesn't like Cosmic Encounter. Though they also admit they've only had like one or two experiences, and they don't think that it was explained well to them. And I remember Gina, like about a week ago, said she didn't like Cosmic Encounter, but she only played one game, and now she seems to like it after having a few more under her belt.
Well,
So-
in that game, we didn't use the alien things. We just... we didn't
did
use
the
the alien
basic.
powers. We
Yeah, everybody
just
seems
did
to like a lot more of the aliens,
Yeah.
even though it confuses things.
I mean,
It's
for
just
those of
so
you
much
that don't
fun.
know, we love Cosmic Encounter.
Love it.
About 2 summers ago, we had a season.
Let's do
where
it again.
We came up with a point system
Well, let's
and
finish the
drafted
season we started.
aliens. I was leading in that season, by the way.
Yeah, great.
Gosh, and it just got scrapped. I
Yeah.
mean, just like that.
Yeah.
Very upsetting.
Well, once you started leading, we
Brad
knew
will
things
never
were
let it
messed
go.
up, so we had to like get rid of it.
something.
Yes.
I think people
Yeah.
started leaving. People worked.
But yeah,
Well,
well,
Adam
there's
got
people.
very upset because he was emotionally invested in that.
He was.
Yeah.
It was the only good thing going on for him at the time.
Oh.
For those of you
I'm
that
just
don't
kidding.
know Adam, a very outspoken but great friend of the show that hopefully we dream to have on here one day. All right, Kristen, what have you been checking out this week?
Well, I've been watching Once Upon a Time on Netflix. So I haven't seen the most recent season, which is airing right now, but I've watched through seasons 1 and 2. It was just something. I think most of you probably know that Jerry and I had a baby not too long ago. So
What?
Yeah, I know, crazy, right? I mean, it's not like she's
By baby, they added 2
anything.
hot toys to Jerry's collection. That's what they meant.
No. So, I have a little bit of downtime with her through the day. So, one of the few things I actually get to do is watch TV. Like, I haven't picked up a book since before she was born. It's
Me
just,
either.
it's not gonna happen
And
for
you're
while.
a teacher. That's horrible.
I know, right?
I'm joking.
But Netflix is easy, So, yeah, Netflix
Oh, yeah.
is like my best friend right now. But
Yeah.
so I was like, yeah, I'll check it out. I've heard different things about it. I figured I'd check it out, and overall, I like it. It's pretty good. If you're not familiar with it, it's all the fantasy characters.
Disney
basically,
characters.
yeah, it's all the Disney characters.
And
Since it's an
it
ABC
is on
show,
ABC
it's Disney.
Family.
Yeah. It's all of them have been brought under a curse into this
It's on
this
the
town
main
in
ABC,
our world. Yeah, it's an ABC
Yeah,
Family
okay.
show. So
Does it
and
come
they-
on ABC or ABC Family?
ABC.
It's ABC.
Okay, you
ABC.
said,
I'm
I kept
not
saying
sure.
ABC
It may be
Family.
it may be on ABC Family too. I know it definitely.
Is
At least when it
just
started.
ABC?
When it started, it was on ABC.
It
yeah,
comes
Disney's
on
ABC.
Sunday nights,
All I
I
know
believe.
is ABC is Disney. So
When
which
all the
one
real
is it?
fantasy
Yeah.
fans are watching Game of Thrones. That's right. Starting tonight, guys. Season
What you call
4.
it? Didn't the
Only those that
spinoff
have
just
cable.
got canceled, right?
What got
Spin-off?
canceled?
The
Spinoff.
Once Upon a Time spinoff, the Alice in Wonderland spinoff.
Oh, yeah.
Once a Time
It got
in Wonderland. Or
canceled?
something. I'm pretty
I
sure.
don't know.
I'm pretty sure I read it just got canceled, and people are upset and whatever.
It would
I
be
hadn't
kind of
heard
cool to
about
see
that.
more of the Mad Hatter because he was kind of fun.
I watched like a few episodes of that show, and he was definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, I really like. He was only in a couple episodes, but
I watched the best ones then.
Well, have you met Hook? Did you meet Hook?
I didn't care for the show too much, honestly, so I didn't stick with it too much. It wasn't bad. It was just I had other things to watch. I didn't like it that much.
See, it started off awesome because you were seeing how the different characters, where they were at in the fairy tale world.
Yeah.
And you were watching their stories, and that was so cool. And Jennifer Goodwin is playing Snow White, and she is just amazing as
she does play really good.
Very well cast, and I love it. But so you were seeing that, and then you were seeing how the traits that make them in the fantasy world, they're lacking them in the real world. Like Snow White is really adventurous in the fairy tale world, and she's really not in this world. Prince Charming is very brave and in your face. And stands up for what's right.
It's like Jamie Lannister.
He's in the fairy tale world, and in the real world, he's kind of a coward and stuff. He's too scared to stand up and do the right thing sometimes.
Speaking of cowards, I will say, yesterday, I woke up early, I had a friend in town, so I decided, let's watch some Saturday morning cartoons. So now I watch most of Netflix and Hulu, I don't have cable. So I was going through the HD receiver I have and found this retro channel and watched an episode of She-Ra and He-Man. And boy, do I have questions.
All right. Let's go for it.
Those questions about your sexuality.
All right. I'm probably the person to answer these.
Okay.
So.
Well, there was just some things I didn't know before. Lord. He-Man's battle cat was like no pun intended, a Frady cat.
His name is Cringer.
Okay, I had no idea. Yep. I'm like, what is wrong? I was like, what is Scooby-Doo in this all of a sudden?
Yeah.
So the She-Ra cartoon, Skeletor is not the normal bad guy, right?
Not in She-Ra. She-Ra is in another world. He-Man takes place on Eternia. She-Ra takes place...
So He-Man doesn't come into She-Ra's... Because the episode I watched...
He does from time to time.
Because the episode I watched, Skeletor was the main bad guy. And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure this isn't normal. And then He-Man shows up, so I'm like, well, this must be a crossover episode. And let me say, does the Skeletor and She-Ra have a different voice than normal Skeletor? Because the voice that came out of Skeletor's mouth blew me away. It didn't sound. It sounded like deeper than that. So in the She-Ra cartoon, in the She-Ra cartoon. So
you sure it wasn't Hordak?
No, it was Skeletor. It was a guy he was purple hood, skeleton for a face.
I don't know. I thought it always sounded the same.
And then the unicorn Pegasus.
Oh,
the minute that
the voice.
When he opened his mouth, I was like, "What is happening?"
Yeah.
She-Ra.
His voice is horrible.
She-Ra, I just smoked 5 packs of cigarettes.
And then they were traveling through space.
Yeah.
And there was this other Pegasus that came out of the sun. Like this it was crazy. It was a crazy show,
Welcome
man.
to the 1970s and 80s.
But man, it was. I will say, I expected She-Ra to be a lot more like sexist because right before She-Ra came on, we watched this old Dick Tracy cartoon, and like Dick Tracy's partner is like this Asian character with his big teeth and stuff
everywhere.
Yeah, I know. I started watching She-Ra. And it was like an old cartoon. I expected them to be cooking or something, and like somebody like steal something. But like now they were like, well, granted they were kidnapping a tax collector and giving the money to the poor. So,
she was kind of a
liberal cartoon.
It's kind of a Robin Hood-ish, They're in Masters of the Universe and He-Man. Skeletor keeps trying to take over Eternia, so it's kind of constantly stopping the good guy. But She-Ra kind of turns it around where Etheria, where she's at, has been taken over by this group called the Horde, and so she's part of a rebellion that's
called the Alliance.
Yeah, the Great Rebellion.
So basically, what you're saying, the whole thing's like a negative commentary on the Reagan presidency and Reaganomics. Right?
Except it came out before.
It was in the 80s, right?
Wait, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So we've been during the Reagan era.
It was just funny, because they were like it started out there was this panther running around, and they threw a net over the panther, and then it turned into like this beautiful woman. And I'm like, well, I don't know what's happening here.
That's Catra.
And then they're like, you got the tax collector, and I'm like, what? And it's a giant bag of gold. But I mean, I was honestly surprised. It was like all other than He-Man showing up later, it was like all women and stuff, and they weren't just doing typical cliche girl character type things.
Did you find Lukey?
I don't remember. There's
a little guy that pops up, and he's in each episode of She-Ra. He's like a little guy, and he's hidden in the background, named Lukey. And at the end of the episode, he'll be like, "Did you find me?" and then like they'll show you the scene where he was hiding.
I was distracted by probably the Panther woman in the net, and then it was all in space after that with his bee people and stuff.
So the true judge of whether you really enjoyed this, did you subscribe to Masters of the Universe Classics toy line?
He wouldn't be able to until it opens up in June.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, some of those characters are just...
You'll have to come look at all my classics, man.
Some of those characters are crazy.
All right. Gina Beaner, what have you been checking out?
Well, I'm a lot like Kristen, and I've been doing a lot of Netflixing. And Bob's Burgers Season 3 came out this week.
That's why that was on our Netflix this morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been watching Bob's Burgers on your Netflix while babysitting. But yeah, so I've been kind of really hardcore watching Bob's Burgers. And then you can watch Season 4, which is the current season going on Hulu. So I'm a little bit more than halfway through Season 3. And the beginning of Season 3 is, I don't know, it's kind of off. It's like they brought in a new writer or something, and you can just tell that the style is slightly different. And then close to around the middle of the season, it starts going back to what Bob's Burgers is supposed to be. So they lost it there for a little while and then came back to it. And so I'm really enjoying it. And it's probably my favorite TV show right now.
Strong words.
Yeah.
Some good content on right now.
Comedies and not, yeah.
But it's just, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's an animated show like Family Guy or South Park or something like that, but its content is really different. It's kind of like a family show, but it has a little bit of cussing in it and
more like King of the Hill. Perhaps.
Yeah, that's probably the closest analogy. Yeah, the King of the Hill. Yeah, but it's funny because it's a family of 5. You have Bob, who owns the burger restaurant. He's the dad, and then Linda, his wife, and then their 3 kids, Tina, Jean, and Louise. And so you've got 2 male characters and 3 female characters. There's only one woman that plays a voice in like the whole show. So every female character except for one is played by a man. It's great. I love it. It's so good. So if you haven't watched Bob's Burgers, I really recommend that you go out and watch it because you'll get addicted, I'm pretty sure.
How many shows do you watch on TV right now? You say it's your favorite show.
Just Bob's Burgers.
I mean, I'm not trying to diss Bob's Burgers.
This week.
I'm not trying to diss Bob's Burgers. I'm just out of...
you got Game of Thrones. You got
I don't watch Game of Thrones.
Breaking Bad, which I had.
Breaking Bad's not on TV anymore.
True Detective.
Which
I still hadn't watched.
Legend of Korra.
Okay.
Fantastic show. You all should be watching
Community,
it.
which we're going to talk about later on.
We'll talk about Community, yeah.
Yes, we will.
I mean, speaking of favorite shows, if you don't mind, Gina, I'm going to jump into what I've been checking out. And let me just preface this. I will not spoil anything.
Oh, God. Should I go in the other room?
No. I watched the final episode, the series finale of How I Met Your Mother. Now, this is a show I've been watching since it first aired. I watched the pilot live on CBS. Heard it may be Friends for a new generation. And
it's not.
It's my I like it better than Friends. I don't know if it's as good of a show as Friends. Nope. I'm just saying
I love How I Met Your Mother. I'm not trying. It's a great show.
The show does so much. What I like about it kind of has that old Wonder Years technique of telling it, from the future. So we're looking back with the Bob Saget narration, and the show is such a great mixture of laugh out loud, sometimes raunchy humor. And just great, like, I hate to say it, but I'll say it, chick flick, heartfelt, which is one of my favorite words.
Heartfelt.
Got a lot of heart.
Drama. I mean, just a great mashup and blending of all those elements. And it's Ted, how you would label Ted, Marshall, Robin, Lily, the whole gang, Barney. I'd say they're pretty hip, cool people, right? They frequent bars. They dress pretty snazzy. They're all fairly good looking, but at the same time, there would be like geek elements in there. Like they have like a passionate love for Star Wars, and
you know what would make them even more hipper?
What?
If they hung out in a coffee shop instead.
Yeah, I mean it basically is a lot of the same tropes and things from Friends, but still, it's very well done. And I was like, as much as I love the show, I've been busy with work and whatnot, and I was 4 episodes behind. So I decided I had a free Saturday. I was going to binge watch the last 4 episodes. Boy, what a roller coaster ride of emotions that was. Probably a mistake. I watched I got to the last one, which was an hour long, and there was about 2 times in it that I about teared up. And then by the end, I'll admit, I'm not afraid to admit, I was bawling. Just in tears. Jerry said I cried more watching that finale than he did at his grandmother's funeral, but I don't know what that says about me as a person, but I'm just saying I had such an emotional investment in these characters. And I was older when this came out, whereas Friends, I was younger. I watched Friends off and on. I watched the finale, but I wasn't as invested in those characters. And one more thing. I'm not going to spoil the ending at all. A lot of people are upset doing fan edits, which CBS has pulled off the internet, and they are going to release an alternate ending on the season 9 DVD set. I didn't have... Okay. Gina almost spilled a drink on a comic. It was not a very good comic, though. But back to How I Met Your Mother.
And it was bagged.
Back, like all comics should be, bagged and boarded. But back to How I Met Your Mother. I, for one, was not upset about the ending. I see how people do and would have a problem with it. I can't wait that Stokes watches this, because this has been a show we've talked about over the years that he is definitely emotionally invested in as well.
Not as much as Friends, though. But.
Not as much. No, he's a huge Friends fan. But I was satisfied. I hate to see characters go, but all good things must come to an end. So, Andrew, did you want to say something about this?
No, I totally forgot what I was going to say. I had something to say, but I totally forgot.
The thing about it is, I don't know, it speaks to life so much. You very rarely get shows that do that. The Office did a decent job of it. It would be laugh out loud funny, then hit those emotional, serious notes when it needed to.
Yeah.
And this, I'll admit, at times with the emotional stuff, it may have been a bit heavy-handed. But still, there's some great comedy. I like Big Bang Theory, for example. I love it, laugh out loud funny. But I'm just not feeling any emotion when these characters get married or when these characters have kids, right. If they do or don't. Not spoiling anything for somebody who's on season 1 of Big Bang Theory. But it's just pure comedy, which is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I hope I can find something to fill. This kind of filled your Friends slot. This did. I hope I can find something else to fill that Friend slot, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, we gotta find something to fill that Friend slot.
Brad's Game of Thrones.
A great show. Now, Game of Thrones I love that show, but it's not filling any Friends or How I Met Your Mother slots in my life. It's just not going to. But I hope something comes along that can. But Andrew, I'm begging you.
I hope you find something too.
Please catch up on this show so we can talk about it.
I was going to, but I didn't. So, all
right.
It takes too long for the DVDs to come out of the show.
Yeah, it does.
If it comes out early enough, I'll buy the DVD. Otherwise, I normally wait till Netflix. But it doesn't come on Netflix October, November.
So. Well, you got to get the complete box set, all 9 seasons.
That's not
complete with a yellow umbrella.
What?
Yes.
Serious?
No.
Well, that'd be great though. Actually, so
it comes with a blue French horn.
Yes.
I really need an umbrella too when I'm.
Jerry,
Episode
don't
1
say
reference.
anything else.
Episode 1 reference.
I came with that.
All right, so let's move on to something we all checked out this week. And Andrew Stokes, you suggested we all get together and watch it, so go ahead and set it up.
All right, so this week we watched the Carolina Panthers New England Patriots Super Bowl over again.
And it was the same ending. That field goal still went in. And
don't spoil it. Some people may not have seen it yet. No, we all checked out the G.I. Jeff episode of Community this week, and it was
epic.
Half the battle.
Yeah.
Jerry, an interesting perspective, because Jerry is a lifelong G.I. Joe fan.
I am.
He's actually subscribed to the G.I. Joe fan club currently.
My first action figure was the 1986 General Hawk, who was one of the characters in the background of the scene where Winger and friends were on trial.
So he's coming from the G.I. Joe perspective,
Yeah.
whereas Andrew and I have watched this show as well, pretty much since
I've
the
watched.
beginning.
I've watched Community from the beginning. I've watched old cartoons like that. I didn't grow up on G.I. Joe specifically, but I've watched definitely old cartoons that.
I didn't grow up on G.I. Joe either, but I did grow
What?
up on on the 80s
style.
and 90s X-Men.
Yeah.
And it was very reminiscent, and I felt like I could identify with it, even though I don't watch Community and I didn't watch G.I. Joe, but I found something in it that felt really nostalgic to me, and I enjoyed watching it, even though I don't have any connection to
Ninja Turtle cartoons.
Yeah.
something
I've
like
seen
that,
about
too.
5 or 6
yeah.
Community episodes before.
Well, first of all, from the Community aspect, big props to Dan Harmon and
Yeah.
Community. This is the only show on TV that could have pulled this off and would
Yeah.
have a fan base who would want to see something like this. One of the most interesting fan bases probably out there, and one of the most, even though they may be small or they may watch it on Hulu and Netflix and not tune in on cable, this is a very rabid fan base. The 6 million of us there are that actually
been
watch
big.
this show.
5 seasons already.
But last year,
Lockjaw is a common issue.
when Dan Harmon had
Rabid.
left this show, rabid. What's wrong with rabid? Like,
she
just
said they've all been
exciting?
bitten by dogs.
Okay. Well, anyway,
Bad jokes.
Good one.
they couldn't have pulled this off last year, I don't think, without Dan Harmon.
Probably not.
But the execution was there because we had perfect Community tropes and aspects, along with the G.I. Joe stuff, which I'm going to let Jerry talk about. What did you like from a G.I. Joe perspective, Jerry?
Well, from a G.I. Joe perspective, I mean, one, it was very true to the way that the original cartoon series was done.
Are we going to spoil this episode?
Yeah, let's spoil the episode.
Is there much to spoil?
Not
I mean,
much to spoil.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of
really.
jokes to spoil and stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
but it kind of goes with talking about it. So
yeah,
if you're
I've
going to
seen
watch
lots
it,
of people talk about it already.
Okay.
So the biggest joke that comes out of it is, I think the biggest joke is that because of the TV restrictions, during the 1980s for the animated series done by Sunbow, one of the things was that nobody could ever die. I mean, you
Yeah.
never saw anybody actually getting shot or killed. Even when airplanes would, get shot, they had to have an animated scene where you saw the pilot, coming down in a parachute. And so the joke is that Jeff's character, Wingman, ends up just shooting Destro's parachute and killing Destro, and the G.I. Joes and Cobra were just completely shocked that he would dare to actually kill somebody. As they say in the episode, they've been fighting for 20 years and nobody has ever been shot. And so,
And that's a joke that goes throughout the entire episode.
yeah, through the whole
It keeps coming
episode.
up.
So I thought that was a pretty funny joke. I was actually surprised. I didn't realize that I thought it was going to be an episode in the style of
Yeah.
G.I. Joe, that they actually used all of the main character. I mean, everybody. Main characters, secondary characters. I mean, it was
This
really...
had Hasbro's blessing.
Yeah, it
Hasbro,
had-
they did.
Paramount on G.I. Joe.
Hasbro.
But yeah, they did the
G.I. Joe.
animation. There were some original voices back in this one.
Yeah, some of the
I thought
voices sound
too.
really
When I
familiar.
heard about it, I thought it was going to be in the style of it, and I saw a promotional image that showed Jeff Winger's character and Cobra symbol behind him. I'm like, that's the actual Cobra symbol. Can they do that? And well, they did.
I mean,
They
Community is such a gutsy show. I mean, they
It's-
kind of they poke at some like some iffy racial things,
Yeah.
which they're able to pull off quite well.
It's kind of amazing that Hasbro was so cool with letting them
Yeah.
get away with, and not only had their blessing, but worked with them for some
Yeah.
of these jokes. So
Well, this year is the 50th anniversary of G.I. Joe, so that's kind of
and they did more than Hasbro did by honoring G.I.
They
Joe.
really
here,
seem
probably.
to have done more than Hasbro did this year. One of the things, I mean, all the characters' outfits were very reminiscent of other G.I. Joe characters. Obviously, Jeff's outfit, even though Duke is in the episode, was very reminiscent of the original Duke. You're going to have to help me out here.
what?
Tight Chip.
Annie.
Annie's character
Tight
was
Chip.
obviously like a female shipwreck. The sailor that looked like Jack Nicholson that had the parrot with him all the time.
Britta was Buzzkill.
Britta was Buzzkill, who I didn't draw a quick connection to any specific G.I. Joe character,
Ahmed?
but Ahmed was Fourth Wall.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely was Spirit Iron Knife, who was a Native American mystic on the original G.I. Joe team, and was just he did a really funny job in the show.
Like Andrew said, we all maybe didn't grow up on G.I. Joe, but Gina says the X-Men 90s cartoon. Andrew and I, as far as this type of animation, would look back to the original TMNT cartoon.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of the old original Transformers as well.
Yeah.
And they really poke fun at the tropes and issues that you would see, like reusing animation. There's a time where they have like a rock over the head thing that they use 3 times to save money. They poke fun at lip syncing, which
that
is
was a
just
good one.
Hilarious. And there
was another time. I don't know if this was on purpose or not, but what's his name? Oliver. What's the guy? The British.
Oh yeah,
actor.
The guy used to be on Daily Show.
Yeah. But his character on there, he has like this white cobra symbol, and during one scene, it disappeared, and then they did a close up of him on his back. I don't know if that was supposed to be like a joke or if it was an actual animation issue or
stuff like that. Definitely was pretty commonplace. And you're right. I mean, reusing the cells that if you
the
really
backgrounds.
if you really pay attention, if you're really interested in animation from the 1980s, go online, find that there's a magazine you can order called Serial Geek that really focuses on animation of the 1980s.
Is this a newer magazine? Or
it's actually in about maybe it's in the teens now.
Is it currently running? Huh?
Yeah, and it comes out quarterly as they get people to subscribe to it. The guy's name is James Eatock. He's known as Bustatoons, and he is just like an animation specialist. He does a lot of work.
Is he a rapper as well?
No.
Or is he a rabbit?
He does a lot of work for like different. I think when some of these cartoons come out on DVD, sometimes sets, he does like a lot of the work and comments. I know he's very involved. He's probably the expert on the Filmation Masters of the Universe and She-Ra cartoon series. But it's a great magazine to look at some of the stuff. Like, once again, when they would animate a character, you would animate it to be as versatile as possible sometimes, so you could use it for multiple different points. And they definitely poked a lot of fun at some of those elements in there. So.
Jerry, how about, especially from a collector's point of view, and all of us who grew up watching these 30-minute toy commercials is what they were, how they kind of put in these old 80s like action figure commercials.
They were really good.
And weaved them into the story.
And it was great because most of the vehicles in the show, now the Subma Chopper, whatever it's called, was completely made up, but most of the vehicles were real. And even with the custom figures of the community cast, I mean, they used G.I. Joe based bodies. Like, I could look at a lot of them and tell you, like what some of the parts were and stuff.
If they made those really figures, would you want to get them?
Absolutely. I was looking at them like, man, I would love to have a set of these.
They may, because for the Christmas special one, NBC actually sold figurines of that one. Claymation.
That's cool. Oh, that's a great episode too.
So.
But what I liked is there was one line in there where they were wanting to know if they had a vehicle or something in the episode, and somebody said, "Well, that's sold separately." Or something like
the
that.
jetpack. Do you have your jetpack, or is that sold separately?
Yeah, that was hilarious. That really got me. But that was definitely a confirmed epic episode of Community.
It was really good. This season, if season 4 turned you off with Dan Harmon coming back, season 5 is just back to its former glory.
I don't know if it's that. I don't agree with that statement.
I mean, you also said how much your mother was like your friend slot or something. So you say crazy things from time to time. That's all right.
No, but for
Community
me,
so good. How do you not say it's back? It's
I
so
think
good.
Community will have a great this year. Talking specifically to the return of Dan Harmon year, we'll have like a great classic Dan Harmon episode like this, and then have an off episode. Have 2 good episodes, an off episode.
This had the sequel to the Dungeons and Dragons episode, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
I missed that one, so that's the one episode I hadn't seen.
They all die.
The VCR tape one, I love it.
That was great. There's like 3 in a row then, or something.
But yeah, it's been. But there was one where they were like. The one where Abed is trapped in the room with the bald-headed guy, the new professor.
No, but I had one of my funny shows with Ken Jeong and the ghosts.
Yeah, I hated that episode.
Oh my god, that was like one of the funniest jokes in Community.
Who has the first season on DVD?
I do.
I do.
Can I borrow it?
Sure.
All right.
I
have the first 2 on DVD.
Okay.
let's get into some epic news items this week.
Okay.
So,
Epic
Richard Donner was kind of confronted or cornered by TMZ. I don't know why.
Smokes.
I don't know why this was done or whatever.
It was
But
still your
he
lunch
spilled the news that they are working on Goonies 2, and the plan is to have
Because
them.
everybody is clamoring for a
Yeah.
sequel to the Goonies. Yep.
I know I am, and they're having the original cast return. I don't know how this is going to work. Maybe a passing of the torch. I cannot. Josh Brolin, can you see him returning to Goonies 2?
I know. Sean Astin.
I mean,
Which has a better chance of being made right now, Ghostbusters 3 or Goonies 2?
I'd say Goonies. I'd say Ghostbusters 3. It's already.
I think at this point, Ghostbusters 3 is going to happen, even if it doesn't have all the,
Yeah.
Bill Murray in it. I think it's just going to go through anyway.
Why? What's going to come first? Ghostbusters 3 or a superhero movie with 3 or more villains that's actually, good?
Oh wait. Oh, it's actually.
I think Days of Future Past.
You think
could
that's going to do it?
I think it'll have 3 more villains, and it'll
Yeah.
be good.
See, that's kind of a hard.
Amazing
A
Spider-Man
lot of the
2.
X-Men have had 3 or more villains. You could argue because it's a
yeah.
team.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
hard to
Oh,
say.
yeah.
You shut your mouth.
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing Spider-Man 2. I'm just kidding. So.
That was a good joke.
No. But is anybody excited for Goonies 2?
Well, they've gotten together
Well, I mean-
several times over the years. Him and Steven Spielberg, right? That's Steven Spielberg. Right?
Yeah.
Sorry, mommy brain. That's what I call it. They've gotten together several times over the years, I think, to try and put together a sequel, and they've never been able to come up with a script that they thought would work. So, I mean, if they finally come up with something, I think this could be pretty interesting. But
It's going to make me think of like the Family Guy where they had the Charlie Brown reunion and they're all like in their 30s.
I know,
and,
right? I mean,
Snoopy's
it's gonna be
dead and
really
Charlie's like a
interesting
meth addict or something.
to see.
It's going to be interesting.
with
It's
the
going to be
same
weird.
cast, that could be really, really awkward.
I just wonder how they're going to do. I guess maybe they have kids and they're kind of.
See, I could see
that could work, but
I
if
could
they're
see
just
that.
hanging out, a bunch of middle-aged guys hanging out with a bunch of kids, that's
It's
going to
not-
be weird.
One of the Goonies is going to have passed away, and then they're going to do like a Without a Paddles sequel, kind of, with all like some big trip to try to find some lost
Children
friends.
of the
Yeah.
Goonies.
Yeah.
I mean, because that kind of how it is a story for kids with
Yeah.
kids for kids, and it's
Yeah,
like
it's a really odd. It's a really odd concept to think about it being as adults. Like, it doesn't seem like it would.
I still love it as an adult, but
Oh,
seeing
yeah,
it
but-
with the adults, like if they come back, like Andrew said, let's say for argument's sake, that was the premise, it would be a little awkward. I don't know if I'm like super
Awkward.
excited.
Speaking
about it.
of which, there's a Bob's Burgers episode that is tributed to the Goonies. Just
There's
letting you
also
know.
an episode of the Goldbergs.
Awkward.
They did a Goonies episode this year. That was
Is that
really
that show you
well
really
done.
wanted us to watch?
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's really caught on, guys.
I've heard good things about
It's
it.
it's filling many emotional slots.
There,
It's
there
filled my
was
Wonder
there
slot.
was an episode of the Goldbergs that like my parents were texting me during it because they watch it,
They were live tweeting
where
during
the
show.
kid is showing his his toy collection and I the next day
The kid is you, Jerry. The
Yeah.
kid is
the next
you.
day people were going crazy online about oh my gosh he had the USS Flag aircraft carrier
Yes, he has.
from G.I. Joe, he had Castle Grayskull, he had all these
Is the aircraft carrier that huge one?
yes
You have one of
no
those?
I don't
No.
it's 7 feet long
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
They
I've
have-
seen it in
they
person.
have
I
that in
I have
their
a friend
ba-
that has that.
Yeah.
It
It's,
appears on a bunch of episodes. It's like in their basement.
Yeah,
It's probably
I
sad.
did. However, I will say that while they do a pretty good job, some of their GI Joe figures are from 1992.
That's
and
what I was
93.
about to say.
I
This
caught some mistakes.
well, they're
They need me to fact check.
when the show opens up, they're like it was February 1980 something. They don't go. They mix everything in the 80s.
but these
all
were from
together.
90s. These were from 90s. We're talking the neon era of GI Joe.
Okay, but they're not like strict as far as going.
Right, right.
They may one week see a movie that came out in '85, and the next week they're talking about a movie that came
What
out
is
in
this show
81.
about?
It's
What is this show?
it's the Wonder Year set in the '80s. Is what it is.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
That's what it is. It's very
What
good.
it is.
So that's enough about Goonies 2. We'll see if they make it. All right, we got some TMNT movie news. Apparently, Johnny Knoxville will be voicing Leonardo, and Tony Shalhoub will be voicing Splinter.
And we found out this news from TMNZ.
Yes.
Instead of TMZ. See what I did there? You're welcome.
Oh.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Zebras.
Wow.
All right, Jerry.
No.
Yeah.
Tony Shalhoub, okay, right? As Splinter.
Not bad. I mean, it's kind of it's a little odd, but well, I mean, it could work. It
I,
could work.
I was hoping for Morgan Freeman myself. That's all
Yeah,
right.
that would have been better.
Yeah.
But Johnny Knoxville
Liam
as-
Neeson.
Yeah.
I guess
Splinter,
it
wow.
really depends
That would've been good.
to me
Yeah.
on what direction they go with Splinter. Is Splinter Hamato Yoshi's rat who was mutated, or is Splinter Hamato Yoshi mutated together with a rat? Because
I think it's that
Is
one.
Shredder even Naoko Saki?
I believe so. Yes.
we don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure based on that trailer.
That may
So
be. You're
that
talking about
depends-
whitewashing.
If Splinter is
Hamato Yoshi.
if Splinter is actually just a rat, I can see Tony Shalhoub working. But if Splinter is supposed to be Hamato Yoshi himself, as in the cartoon,
And that's what I've heard is going to be.
then it seems odd not to have an actual, an Asian actor.
Well, I
Asian
mean,
voice
they're
actor.
having William Fichtner play a Roko Saki.
But
White
we
guy.
don't know if he's a rookie. We only know Shredder at this point, right?
That's true. That's true.
So-
I guess that's true. I don't know. I'll
I
have
mean,
to
I know
look
the
that
whole
up.
Colonel Schrader thing is very old.
That's old.
and
Yeah.
like debunked, but
Well, let's talk about Johnny Knoxville
Johnny
as
Knoxville.
Leonardo. I love Johnny Knoxville, guys.
I do.
Grew up on Jackass. He's a funny dude.
Yeah.
But I could see him maybe as Michelangelo.
Yeah, no.
But Leonardo? I just don't see it. Like,
I mean, he's done.
the philosophical
somewhat-
leader of the Turtles.
He's
Come
done.
on.
It's a voice. He's done somewhat more serious roles. In
Like what?
I mean, besides with Jackass, he was in some action movie. I'm trying to remember. And he
The
was
Rundown?
still funny.
No, wait, no, he wasn't in the Rundown.
Was he in? He was in Last Stand, and
There
he
was some
played a
movie where he-
comedic role.
But he was more serious than just like a Jackass type character. I'm trying to think of. There's some action. I mean, he was still like the not the straight man. You know what I mean? He was
Yeah.
kind of like that. But it wasn't. It was different from just plain old Jackass silliness. And he's been. I don't know. He can be serious. I guess I've seen him in like.
Well, when they said Bam Margera was voicing Michelangelo and Jeff Tremaine would be voicing...
Is Bam Margera doing?
No, I'm
Oh,
joking.
I was just,
Jackass Ninja Turtles
Well, the only
mashup.
one we heard in the trailer was Michelangelo. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But, you know...
we heard a little bit of some other characters.
But
So, but somebody said batters up to
Yeah.
Raphael.
The
Or Raphael
people
said it.
to Donatello.
the people
Okay.
who they had actually in the mocap suits, like,
Yeah.
they told them, hey, you may or may not be the voice. So could this just be the first announcement in a line of replacing these mocap guys' voices with famous actors?
Who? Well, I mean, one of the actors I thought was well known, or at least up and coming.
Yeah, they were all kind of like
one of the
something
Turtles
here
was,
or there.
I think, just in something. Was it in like Divergent or something?
maybe something like.
Yeah, not like a big movie, but a bigger.
Well, Divergent ended up making like $55 million this opening weekend, so it ended up being
Sure, there's no
pretty big.
Captain America 2.
No, definitely
Or
not.
Hunger Games.
Isn't it kind of I mean, wouldn't it be interesting if they had picked the characters? If they had picked the voices of the folks who are actually voice acting the show on Nickelodeon right now.
One
That
of
would
those
be really
is
cool.
Jason Biggs, Corey Feldman's doing it on there too,
Oh, wow.
and I don't know
Yeah.
the other two, but they're semi.
One of them was the
well-known.
original
Booyakasha.
voice of
Donatello.
Yeah.
He's in Raphael.
Yeah, Corey
Yeah.
Feldman did Donatello in the movie.
in the movie.
In the
But
first
he's doing
movie.
somebody else in the new show. He's not
That's really gonna
Donatello.
throw me.
Is he Raph?
Well, it does.
I
throw
think he
me.
may be.
Yeah,
I
he's
can't
not one of the
remember.
main turtles.
No.
Corey
Oh, really?
Feldman's not.
No,
No,
he's
he's not.
not.
That's right. He
No,
guest
that
starred.
was
He
Yeah.
guest starred. I'm sorry.
But it's just
You're
interesting.
right.
It would be
You're right.
interesting to try to think about.
It's the Jerry. I'm sorry to interrupt you,
That's
but
okay.
it's the guy who. What I'm thinking of, the guy who voiced Donatello in the original series
Voices
now
Raphael
voices
in the new
Raphael
one.
now.
Okay.
So
Yes.
continue.
But it's
Sorry.
just interesting, like, you think maybe wouldn't that make sense? I mean, is the voice that big of a draw versus having like some consistency for kids?
It's a
I don't think
distraction.
the voice is going to be
With
that big a draw.
Johnny Knoxville.
I also don't think it's supposed to. I mean, it's supposed to. I mean, Ninja Turtles on TV, Ninja Turtles on the movie, but it's definitely, from what I can tell from that teaser trailer, almost akin to the old cartoon and
Yeah.
the older movies, where like they're both Ninja Turtles, but it's not necessarily supposed to be a big time adaptation of the cartoon.
Right. But it just would be interesting to see them try something like that.
It'd be
where there's
cool.
I'm looking
a little
at
bit
this.
of synergy.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
mind that, but I'm looking at this as something
Whole
completely
different- yeah.
new. Like
Yeah.
it's a whole new.
It looks
ball
more
game.
like that Ninja Turtles game that came out like last summer or whatever, the
Yeah.
Out of the Shadows or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, is so unique, and that could be in a bad way, it could be in a good way. I think it's still yet to be seen. We've talked about things we like with the costumes and stuff, and then we hear stuff like this, and it can be. I'm trying not to overreact to it, but at
You
the
were actually
same
excited
time,
about the trailer.
I like the trailer, except that they looked huge and off-putting a little bit to me, and there was a.
Well, they actually look like actual turtles versus.
Yeah, like actual legit, like mutated turtles that you would expect rather than like characterized.
Well, there's supposed to be a mixture
versions
of humans and turtles, so
yeah,
it's okay to have human.
Well, people were upset, like that, especially when Mikey took his mask off. There was an edit going around the internet where people had, went and said, "This is how we want Michelangelo to look," and it wasn't necessarily exactly like the old movie, but it was more closer to what we know them as. So we're definitely looking forward to that. It comes out in August, so we'll have a review for that on the site. All right, Jerry, 2 toy things from DC Collectibles and news. We know at Toy Fair they introduced the New Adventures of Batman, Batman figure, and the Catwoman from Batman the Animated Series. Well, this week DC Collectibles gave a sneak peek of the Mr. Freeze and Two-Face figure, and I couldn't tell, but are these from the New Adventures, or what did you see?
Two-Face seems to be from Batman the Animated Series.
That's what I was
Mr.
thinking.
Freeze is the redesign from the new Batman Adventures.
Are you excited about these 2 characters coming into this
I'm just
line?
waiting that I can pre-order them from Big Bad Toy Store.
Yeah.
I've already got all the other ones pre-ordered from this
Which
series.
is only 2, and it'll be interesting to see how expansive they are with this line. And I'm curious to know what is their reasoning in New Adventures Batman first as opposed to classic Batman the Animated Series.
Probably because then they'll release the other Batman down the line.
We know they will, but why start with that one? And I like that one. He's fun.
Wait, I'm sorry. They're only doing the New Adventures?
They're mixing and matching.
They're mixing
Okay,
them up.
yeah.
So
I mean, the Mr. Freeze from New Adventures would probably be a little more simplistic of a figure than the animated Batman. Well, I haven't seen the pictures of these figures, but
so they're pretty cool. And I mean, once again, it's kind of that when you're doing different releases for toy lines, one of the things you want to do is to hold on to some characters that are significant, that are important and popular, because then you can release them down the line.
Yeah.
Like you can give the New Adventures Batman, and it's a pretty good looking Batman. I liked all the the style that's really influenced by the Bruce Timm look there. But there's a lot of people who want the Batman, Batman the Animated Series version.
Yes.
And so you got them kind of getting into the line, interested, paying attention to it. So when that one comes out, it's a big deal, but you've had them interested for a while now. It's kind of a you're kind of mixing characters around to give people. It's kind of like, well, wouldn't it make the most sense to do Batman and the Joker? Well, of course, but a lot of people would buy Batman and the Joker, then they'd be done.
Yeah.
And this way, you're like, people are like, oh, okay, well, Batman's out, and Catwoman, okay, that's kind of cool. Now wait for the Joker, and you have more, you kind of keep the excitement going by holding some characters
The 3
back.
figures I want from this line are Man-Bat, the classic 92 Mr. Freeze, and Mad Hatter. I'm not always the biggest Mad Hatter fan, but I loved him in Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, I'm excited. I really want a
Killer Croc.
Be good.
I really want, obviously, a Batgirl from this line.
Yeah.
But I really want a Phantasm. I would love to have a Phantasm.
With a removable mask.
Yes, from the Mask of the Phantasm. Yeah. And I really want the Mike Mignola-inspired Mr. Freeze from the animated series from Heart of Ice.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. That would be epic.
Episode.
Nightwing would be cool.
I mean, that is the best piece of, probably TV animation.
Yeah.
That Heart of Ice
That's
episode.
a great
I know
episode.
that's saying
a
a lot.
series.
Well, there's a 2-part episode with Robin going after Two-Face or whatever, trying to get vengeance for his parents' death and stuff.
Well, in that cartoon, Two-Face didn't kill his parents, right? In the cartoon,
I can't remember.
That
Two-Face was
Batman
involved.
Forever. He was involved in it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure in that episode he was involved in some degree. Maybe the guy was like a
Because it's the
underling in
Zuki crime family or whatever, right? Who have a vendetta against him or something like that against the circus owner.
Yeah.
The Zuki family didn't pay him.
Zuko or something.
Zuko, that's it.
Zuko.
Zuko.
In the comics, in the Batman comics, did they ever pick up the Judge as a character? The hero, anti-hero. Y'all remember him?
I don't know.
Judge?
It was Two-Face became this guy called
I
the
know
Judge.
who you're talking about.
And they didn't
yes.
know who he was, and he was basically going after the other criminals,
Okay.
and Batman had to stop him, and it turns out it was Two-Face.
I don't remember that. So.
I thought it was a really cool
Besides-
continuation of
I'll have to
Two-Face.
check it
We
out.
could talk about this all day, but
Yes, we
I
can.
want to say, besides Heart of Ice, just real quick, because Heart of Ice is like the
Other than the Robin one I
top
was
of
just
the
talking about, yes.
echelon episode of Batman the Animated Series. What's your favorite episode? Jerry, can you think? While you're thinking, I'll tell you mine. Definitely the 2-part Two-Face introduction. I love it where he's sitting there talking to the counsel. It starts out he's sitting there talking to the counselor or whatever, and he's just flipping that coin. And that show was scored very well. Did Danny Elfman do some of the score for that show? And it was
I don't
scored
know.
well. But I guess you can't think.
I mean, each episode was like a mini movie almost.
Yeah,
it was
man.
really good.
I really
Yeah.
liked Christmas with the Joker.
Yeah,
I do.
which is the very first episode.
Yeah, I just
which
always
had
think of that, 'cause I've
Robin.
probably seen
yeah,
the
which
most.
had Robin,
And then
he
then he
wasn't in it for a
disappeared.
while.
Yeah, and then they introduced Robin.
Yeah,
So
you
that
have
was-
to when you're watching that show like on DVD. Like I have the whole collection. You have to kind of, because a lot of times
Almost like the Clone Wars. It's kind of fragmented.
Oh, yeah, a lot of times the TV shows the airing order, which is what they put on the DVD, is not necessarily
Chronological,
always
yeah.
how the show was written. So
Yeah.
you have to watch for the episode number.
There's an episode, I believe this is in New Adventures of Batman. I'm trying to think exactly what happens. The name of the episode's Over the Edge.
Mhm.
And it's some kind of alternate reality or something happens with the Scarecrow is poisoning them with fear gas. And
Yeah.
they're really pitted against each other. I think Batgirl and Batman. It's been a while since I've seen that.
Remember the
one's
Grey
really good.
Ghost, the one with Adam West?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good
The worst
episode.
episode is the one with the penguin. There's something. There's something about I forget what it's called. I don't remember the name of the episode. I know it. It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it. But the penguin was at a weird stage because they wanted to make him like the Danny DeVito penguin,
But he
they
wasn't
didn't.
quite that far,
Yeah, it was a very weird. Andrew, anything you want to say about this?
Well,
You're trying to think of an episode.
Well, I mean, I don't think the Heart of Ice was the best episode. I think
You don't?
I think it was
Robin.
a 2-part Robin
Really?
one. Yeah, easily.
It's
Yeah,
Emmy disagrees.
Yeah.
that's fine.
I'm just kidding.
So does Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
And so does Bruce Timm. They both say that is the.
Heart of Ice is a
I mean,
good
Heart of
episode.
Ice. Do you have this? You have them, right?
Yeah,
we
I
need
have
to just go watch Heart of Ice after this podcast.
We'll watch that and the 2-part Robin episode, and we call it a night.
No.
And then watch G.I. Jeff again.
All right, so that's going to wrap it up for Epic News for the week. We're going to get into one of our most anticipated reviews of this year. That is from Marvel Studios, Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
Most of the intelligence community doesn't believe he exists. The ones that do call him the Winter Soldier. He's a ghost. You'll never find him.
That was from the trailer of Captain America, the Winter Soldier, directed by the Russo Brothers, starring Chris Evans, Sam Jackson, Scarlett Johansson, and Anthony Mackie.
And Robert Redford.
Robert Redford in there is a Shield head honcho director guy. So just to set this one up, this comes from probably the most famous, most epic, and a very recent. It was actually one of the few things that I would give the label instant classic because it came out around 2006, 2005, the Winter Soldier storyline. So this is fairly recent. It was written by Ed Brubaker and illustrated by Steve Epting. And it really ingrained Winter Soldier into the Captain America / Marvel mythos pretty quick, as if he was a character created back in the Stan Lee heyday, even though he's a fairly recent creation.
Yeah.
So this obviously didn't follow the comic book storyline. It just borrowed elements from the comic book storyline of Winter Soldier. But basically what we have is a movie about the downfall of S.H.I.E.L.D. and how that's going to impact the Marvel Universe. And we do have a political thriller set in the Marvel Universe, which is kind of what we had been told. It's what we expected. This movie came in with a lot of hype. A lot of people say it's better than the first Iron Man. It's better than Avengers, which had been the gold standard for Marvel Studios movies, not counting X-Men, which is Fox, owned by Fox, or counting any of the Spider-Man movies owned by Sony in that. But guys, what did you think? Did it live up to the hype? What did you like? What did you not like? Obviously, spoiler-free right now. We'll get into spoilers, which there are quite a bit of later on. But Andrew is another Marvel fanboy. Start out.
I think it definitely lived up to the hype, regardless of, I don't know what you thought of it maybe, but I mean, I think it delivered on a lot of things it was supposed to deliver on. If I was pumped to see this movie. Like, I was excited to see this movie, and I was not let down at all. I agree. It was just... It's probably my favorite Marvel Studios film so far. And I've really liked basically everything they've put out. It was just really good.
The thing that I'll say it does is, and we've seen it since the Patriot Act passed, we've seen so many, like, security versus freedom commentaries, like, almost ad nauseum in film. It was a thing as recently as RoboCop when we reviewed that back in February.
Yep.
But here, they just handle it so well. There's a quote from Captain, and it was in the preview when they're showing, I guess not a spoiler, that there's multiple helicarriers in this film, because that's in the trailers and several TV spots. When Cap is seeing the 3 helicarriers known as Project Insight, and he says, "This isn't freedom, this is fear."
Yeah.
And I think that kind of... Well, first of all, what great writing. I think the Russo brothers also wrote this film as well as directed it. But that is the backdrop. I know it's the backdrop of so many movies, but this is, you don't want to call something, I guess, a superhero, maybe the quintessential commentary on the Patriot Act in Hollywood, but it was a very, very, very well done. So many have been done since the Patriot Act was passed, but this one stood out to me. Jerry, your thoughts?
Really like this movie. I'm gonna agree with Andrew. This is probably my favorite film from Marvel Studios at this point.
Did you say that, Andrew? Is this your favorite one from Marvel Studios? I didn't mean to step on. I missed that.
That's okay. Yeah,
Go ahead,
I think
Jerry.
this is definitely my favorite film from Marvel Studios. I kind of get the feeling that, Brad, you might agree or disagree with this. I kind of feel like this is Marvel Studios' The Dark Knight. That this is the movie that still knows it's a superhero movie. It's still entertaining. It's still exciting, but it tries to tackle a pretty serious issue and doesn't necessarily flaunt style over substance.
And that's the kind of the commentary, almost the same. That was, before this, the quintessential commentary probably on the Patriot Act was The Dark Knight. Because how low are you willing to stoop to conquer the enemy? That's definitely in the backdrop of The Dark Knight.
Spend enough time and the good guy becomes the bad guy.
Exactly.
You live to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah, and I didn't like it as much as I did The Dark Knight, obviously, my favorite film of all time. But I will say I agree with your statement, Jerry. This is Marvel Studios' version of The Dark Knight. This is when they took the risk, they took the chance from jumping from popcorn flick that says action beat, one-liner, action beat, one-liner, guy playing Galaga, action beat, to actually, we're going to tackle serious real-world issues. We're going to play this straight as we can, and we're taking this subject matter seriously. And with that came high, emotional, real stakes that really put me into this film more than even, as much as I ended up loving the Avengers, as much as I loved Iron Man. This is what I wanted Iron Man 3 to be. We sit here about a year ago, and if you want that podcast, email us. It's definitely an epic episode. But I just wanted that serious, like, Dark Knight tone to one of these Marvel Studios movies, and this was it.
Well, I think Captain America was a good person to do that too, because
Yeah.
like Iron Man is so witty and stuff. It's
Yeah.
part of the character,
Yeah.
and Captain America is a very serious guy. He is a soldier. He's also an old school soldier in
and
a
really
new world.
struggling with these different ideas of what freedom looks like.
Yes.
Yeah, back in especially during World War II, what they were fighting for, and also the fact that in World War II there was a clear enemy. You're fighting the Nazis, you're fighting the Axis, and in today's world, you're fighting armies who are dressed up like civilians. Like
It's all gray. It's not black and white.
Exactly.
right?
When you're targeting civilians and
really
people that you suspect are doing, it's much closer to the Red Scare than it is World War II.
But what impressed me, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'll just say this for anybody who maybe is not going to listen after spoilers. What impressed me so much about this film is how much this was a self-contained Captain America movie.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, those elements, and huge elements, were like laid out in the post-credit scene and throughout. There was a lot of name dropping if you're a Marvel fan that you maybe recognized. And there were things thrown in there added, like it's not a spoiler to say the Treskelin was in there, because it's been mentioned on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which the Treskelin is kind of the headquarters of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the Ultimate Universe, right, Andrew?
Right.
And it's featured prominently in the Ultimates comic, which the Ultimates are the Avengers, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
And it was cool to definitely see that on screen. And I don't know if it was as cool as the first time you saw the Hellcarrier in Avengers, but if you read those Ultimate comics, what a cool nod that was.
Yeah, to me, like the best sequels, especially in trilogies, my favorite ones are self-contained ones. Like obviously, there's like The Empire Strikes Back, which is clearly to be continued and stuff. Normally, I hate that kind of stuff. Sometimes people can pull it off, but that's why like The Dark Knight, like it's a self-contained story, and I love this about this because there are so many plot elements that not only tie into the first Captain America, not only or tied into Avengers and even like Iron Man, some of those films. And it also, like, not into spoilers yet, but like some of the things they set up in this, you can clearly see how they might play into like Age of Ultron and other superhero films. There was like another superhero that like we haven't seen in the Marvel universe that was like name dropped and stuff.
Yes.
And it was just it was well done. It was a self-contained story, but it was also part of a larger story.
Well, I really liked Captain America was probably my second favorite Marvel Studios film.
Besides the Avengers?
Besides Iron Man 2.
The first Captain America?
Yeah. Before watching this one.
It was a lot of people's least favorite.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
And it was my favorite.
I love the first Captain.
It's my second favorite.
Iron Man 2, on the other hand.
I really liked how much this movie... I'm not going to say relied on it, but I liked how many throwbacks there were. Because I was thinking, once again... Well, Captain America, obviously takes place in the 40s, and then, Captain America's frozen. You're thinking, okay, all this stuff is going to be sort of one and done. Yeah. And no, they really had some great ties to, Steve Rogers' past in the film, and that was a really, really strong. It really strengthened the storytelling.
Yeah, I'm actually going to piggyback off of that, in that I was not a big Captain America fan. Specifically because I did not like the first Captain America movie, and I felt like he's a really weak character in the Avengers films. Like, he's not in your face, and that is kind of part of his character. But this movie turned me into a Captain America fan, and I think it's specifically because of how much they deal with... I keep telling people that I talk to about it, like, for me... This was more of a Steve Rogers film than it was a Captain America film. Yeah. And I finally was able to identify with him and to see the struggles that he was going through. And that made him an approachable character for me because, I haven't read the comics and I am coming from this from a no background, And so for him, he was just kind of like this character that was like, well, he's there. I don't really know much about him, blah, blah, blah. And this film really kind of brought him into the universe for me.
I was about to get defensive for a second because she was kind of talking about how she didn't like Captain America when he's like my fourth favorite superhero behind
I
Batman,
know, it's
Spider-Man,
Captain America.
But then I was thinking about it, like my favorite Captain America things are basically Avengers based and go back to him playing off of Tony Stark and how they're complete opposites. One's the Boy Scout, one's the egocentric billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, all that type of thing, right? And how they kind of go back and forth, almost kind of how Superman and Batman do in the Justice League, right? So I see your point. You maybe not the strongest character on his own. To me, I love it, but I can see how mainstream audiences, if you're not a comic book person, maybe would find Captain America one of the least interesting people alone.
Yeah, especially I think in the first Avengers film, he didn't. Robert Downey Jr. is very popular right now. And you kind of see Iron Man kind of take the leading role in Avengers almost.
Yeah.
And
he kind of had to in that film to cement it.
Sure. But in this film, it's kind of a story about Steve Rogers, coming into his own and getting comfortable with the New World Order, basically. And with what happened in Iron Man 3, I really hope in Avengers 2 we see Steve Rogers take a bigger role in Avengers, maybe become that team leader.
Yeah.
As much as I look at Iron Man 3 being more of a Tony Stark film, more than I look at this being a Steve Rogers movie. They definitely got deeper into the Steve Rogers character. I don't know if they completely broke him down, but it was more of I saw it more of as a S.H.I.E.L.D. movie.
Yeah, I think with Iron Man, you really... he's one of those superheroes that Iron Man and Tony Stark are almost two different characters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's always that who's the real person. Whereas Captain America is one of those superheroes where Captain America and Steve Rogers are the same person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He doesn't have a secret identity. He's not.
Yeah.
He doesn't act any different.
Yeah.
He doesn't do anything different. If you remove the costume, there's no difference.
Yeah, exactly. Which they did plenty of times.
So
that mask.
well, and I thought
Kristen hasn't got to say much at all. So Kristen, your opinion on this movie? Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it. I didn't like it as much as Avengers, but I'm just a big Avengers fan. I thought that. I do agree that after Iron Man 3, hopefully we'll have a chance to step it up a little bit and kind of be a leader, be a captain again, maybe But I really, really, really enjoyed it. I haven't had a whole lot more to add. I've kind of agreed with.
Are you a Captain America fan? Like, who's your favorite Marvel character, Kristen? I'm just curious.
What, an Avengers character?
Huh?
Avengers character or Marvel
Avengers
character?
or Marvel?
Just Marvel character. I'm interested.
Spider-Man? It's all right.
Wolverine.
It might be Wolverine.
What about Avenger? Who's your favorite Avenger?
Iron Man.
Iron Man.
Yeah.
Okay, Jerry, go ahead. I just wanted to get her.
So one of the things that I thought, and I know Andrew was joking about this, but with Steve Rogers not wearing the Captain America mask or outfit that often, but that's actually one of the things that was really interesting in this movie was there was so few traditional superhero costumes.
Yeah.
And what I realized, Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson is not cheap, other than the black zip-up outfit, she doesn't really have anything that's a really special, specialized outfit. Steve Rogers is running around without the Captain America outfit most of the movie.
Can I say a commentary real quick on that costume from a comic book perspective? And I may be spoiling older 616 Captain America stuff. You won't tune out for the next 2 minutes if you're reading graphics or something.
Well, hold on. If you're doing the next 2 minutes, let me finish my statement first, and then. All right.
Okay, go ahead.
So I was going to say, with all of these characters, without wearing costumes, what it made me realize is, even without needing a flamboyant, recognizable costume, these actors have really stepped in, and we realize how many times we've seen them in these roles and owned these roles.
Yeah.
That you don't need the mask to realize this is Captain America. You don't need something that, we're so often talked about, well, movie costumes have to look a certain way, they have to draw this in. It's like, man, these actors have really come into their own and really made these characters their own. Kind of like how, Brad, you commented that Iron Man 3 was a Tony Stark film. We didn't even need that much Iron Man in that movie.
We got a lot of Iron Man in that movie.
But we did at the end. But we didn't even need that much throughout it to make that character interesting.
I have more added that, but I won't wait until we get in the spoiler section.
All right. So, Brad, jump on about the 616.
The costume. And it kind of, what a perfect costume to do like Steve Rogers Cap more than Cap, if you will. this costume that they use throughout the majority of the film is from Steve Rogers' Super Soldier. Steve had been shot and killed, and Bucky had taken up the mantle of Captain America, and eventually, like in all good comic books, Steve came back. Right. But of course, they kept him dead for a while, almost 2 years.
And you're talking about his first, in the outfit we see on most of the promo material.
Yeah.
That
with
blue
just the
with
blue.
the silver star, with the white with the silver elements on it.
When Steve comes back, he wears just that costume without the mask, and he is Steve Rogers, Super Soldier, and he's a liaison from the President of the United States to the Avengers. Like, he's the direct line to the Oval Office. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of interesting how they tweaked it, that they put him, never in the comics does he wear the Super Soldier outfit with a mask. So they kind of blended elements of that together. I thought the costume ended up being pretty cool. They did a really good job with that.
Yeah.
But anything else we want to say before we get into spoilers?
Well, I was just thinking about, you're talking about how these actors have come into their own, and that was, I'm not good with names, so you'll have to say his name, the guy who plays Captain America.
Chris Evans.
Okay. That was part of it, was that I was blown away by his
abs.
He was.
Well,
ripped
that too.
He was ripped, and he was shredded.
But
Quite shredded.
his close camera acting, which if you have any, I do a lot of stage acting, so I haven't done any camera acting, but it's really tough to convey something when the camera is really up close on you, and because it's a lot of face work, and you just have to get into the right headspace. And I felt like he nailed all of those really close up kind of things. Like, well, I don't want to go into spoilers.
There was a lot of really good camera work in this movie, though.
Yeah.
I was paying attention to it, and I thought, man, this is just a really nicely shot film. Mm-hmm. And you're right, a lot of very close camera angles. There
were lots of intimate scenes.
Yeah. It was interesting how this movie just...
Not sex scenes, just...
this movie bounced back and forth, but in a good way. That's not a criticism here. Fantastic opening action scenes. This movie had some of my favorite action scenes I've seen. Yeah, the fight scenes in a superhero movie. Yeah. I mean, the way they integrated how Cap fought with his shield was fantastic.
Yeah, that was great.
The fights were, very close quarters, very intense. Obviously you have him as a super soldier, and he's fighting the Winter Soldier and other folks, and so you do have a little bit more than your typical... the fighting's a little bit different than something like The Raid or The Dark Knight, but it was still very intense, it felt very grounded in reality versus something, crazy and over the top, and just really enjoyed the action scenes in this movie. But you could jump back and have these very intimate scenes with, characters, or there's a scene where, I don't think this is a spoiler, where Steve Rogers is incognito, and he's visiting this display, this exhibit at the Smithsonian on the history of Captain America. And those scenes were as fantastic as the action scenes.
I agree.
That there was as much intensity and emotion there. And it was just great. I mean, the way it just bounced back and forth. Once again, a lot of the things I have to say just are not spoiler-type things. But the last thing I want to say, Brad, you and I have talked about this a little bit in regards to Guardians of the Galaxy. But this really felt like the first Marvel Studios film that really was a superhero movie coupled with a completely different genre. Yeah. You could maybe argue that Captain America was a war film and Thor was a fantasy film, but this was a outside of the typical superhero genre. This really was a political thriller, and you touched on that earlier. And I know this came up in our conversations about Guardians of the Galaxy being a true, sci-fi action comedy, not a superhero sci-fi film. And so it's just interesting to really see Marvel's already playing outside the lines, and they're doing fantastic with it. and DC can't even get a film for Wonder Woman off the
Yeah.
ground,
Yeah.
who's arguably one of the 5 most recognizable superheroes, out there.
After Avengers made so much money, they kind of said, all right, we can take more risks now, right? Go ahead, Andrew.
Honestly, another thing too is like I don't know if we've had movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far where we have had superheroes kill people before. Like that's something that's happened in the Marvel Universe. But this film, to me, it wasn't necessarily more graphic, but it seemed a lot more violent. There was a lot more people, good guys included, being killed in this film than I think we've seen in any other Marvel film.
We mentioned getting shot,
Got
bleeding,
shot, stabbed. I mean, again, it wasn't graphic,
Well,
but it was very violent in some,
They took
in
a
some
slightly
parts.
darker approach.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
The darkest Marvel
studios. I guess that just goes along with
I will say,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a movie that... I'd be interested in. I think we talked about this... Gosh, there was another movie we watched recently. But I was saying,
Was it RoboCop?
I don't think it was RoboCop. But this is a movie that I would say... I'm not sure... Maybe it was The Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh,
That I
that's
said,
cause of boredom.
I'm not sure how a kid would react to this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, a lot of these things are the Avengers. I mean, obviously, you think a kid would love that movie. Iron Man, probably, definitely. But I would wonder how this movie really didn't feel like anything that a young kid would enjoy. Very story driven.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some cool action scenes,
you're t-
but
The action scenes. Now, for as good as the Nolan Batman movies are like the holy grail of superhero movies to some people, one of the things they lack and a lot of criticism is, even with the fight between Bane and Batman in The Dark Knight Rises, is the hand-to-hand combat scenes are not always great. There's not a lot of kicking. It's just boom, boom, fist, right? Which, I mean, as much as I hate to admit it, may be true, but with this, the hand-to-hand choreographed fight scenes just stood out. It was the best hand-to-hand combat scenes I've ever seen in a superhero movie.
picture these fight scenes we saw in this, but with Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah!
Or
All right.
hopefully Ninja Turtles at least.
Yeah,
Ninja Turtles would be really cool. Oh man!
But Ninja Turtles more like the raid.
But the I don't see that. But Ninja Turtles is so big, and the foot soldiers are like a SWAT team almost.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I necessarily see that happening. But
we're still
But Captain America, I really liked how he put the shield on his back. Kristen was talking about that. Just cool how it would snap on.
Magnetized or something.
I know I actually mentioned that when he snapped it on his back, it looked like a turtle.
A turtle, yeah. Like a turtle. I was thinking,
That's
oh,
funny.
yeah, that would be cool, like some of the fighting stuff.
While we're still in non-spoilers, the cast, we know Chris Evans. He was great as Cap, right?
Yep.
He really made you forget he was Human Torch. We knew that in all of these movies, right?
Yeah.
We knew Scarlett Johansson's
gosh,
a great
that's right.
Black Widow. Sam Jackson's a great Nick Fury. But a new big character in this is Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson, the Falcon, who is Cap's Robin in the comic books, pretty much. I guess Bucky's his older Robin in World War II. This is his newer Robin in 616.
It's his Nightwing.
His Nightwing,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I'd call him his Nightwing.
He's his sidekick. He's the Cap sidekick. Sam Wilson is.
yeah, sure.
He is.
Supporting cast, whatever. That's fine.
Okay,
Hollywood will.
and a lot of the 616 stuff, but man, Anthony Mackie, who is a great actor, we knew he was a great actor from films like The Hurt Locker, and he was one of the better parts that stood out in Pain and Gain. He's been in a lot of other stuff too, but he was fantastic in this movie, and he was great at the way they did that. They didn't hit you over the head with his character, but he was there from the get-go, from the very first scene. They really built that relationship quickly but efficiently.
And it really helped to bring out some of those things Gina talked about of understanding this guy's coming back from a current war and having lost people, and yet he's, even though you have this, 70-year difference, him and Steve
They're
still
relatable.
understand.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was a really...
And I think that was another thing that, you're talking about how this was a political thriller, but that's something that people deal with every day. PTSD. Coming back from their deployments, and I think that was a really relatable element as well, and something that almost made it more human and less superhero,
Yeah.
I like that as well.
I don't want to get into it too much because, that's not really fun to podcast, but I can't remember what we were talking about this, Jerry, the other day.
Yeah.
What we had been watching, but we were talking about how Yeah, the Army teaches you how to
How to kill.
but they don't teach you how to
Cope.
cope with it
necessarily.
You know? So yeah,
It may have been after some of the Fort Hood things we were
yeah,
discussing.
we were talking about the Fort Hood shooting.
About a lot of the
But,
suicide rates that happen.
So,
yeah.
As somebody who's been in the military, how is coping? Is it?
I haven't killed
Generalized
anyone,
statement
so
for every person who's ever been
I'm
in the
talking about in the
military.
basic training and things, which you had been through. Is that something that is brought to your attention as how to cope with these maybe stressful situations that you're going to go through?
in training, they really do stress mental well-being, and they try to stress to people that, there's kind of this idea that if you say, hey, I'm depressed, or hey, I'm having like some sort of mental issues, that you're going to get flagged as, you're not combat ready. It's just going to basically kind of not ruin your career necessarily, but maybe ruin some chances you might think you get later on. But they really kind of stress is like the person who admits they have a problem, is kind of the stronger person, and they try to say, it's okay to, if you're injured, you're supposed to say you're injured, and this is the same kind of thing. Getting help is the responsible thing to do, and it's definitely stressed even from like the very early parts of basic training, which people can have problems with that. But one thing I want to say before we get into spoilers is we've talked about this movie. Everybody seems to love this movie. If you could say one criticism about this movie, if you could say that
Mine's
before the
in
spoilers.
spoilers.
Yours
Mine's
in
in spoilers.
Well,
But I
let's
have
do that.
one.
Let's do that in spoilers then.
Okay, but Kristen, props to you for bringing that up. That's something that I maybe glossed over in my mind was that they really, besides the whole freedom, fear, freedom, security thing in this movie that we've seen in a million movies, it was subtly done, but another serious topic about how people cope with things.
Correction,
as far
I
as,
brought it up.
You brought it up, Gina. Okay, I'm sorry. Gina, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Well, you elaborated on it well. Gina brought it up, but that's something that's there subtly. They're not hitting you over the head with it.
Yeah.
But it's like, how does a new age person cope with this as far as like these Iraq and Afghanistan wars, and how does Steve, he's coping with what he did in World War II and what the government's doing now. So, wow, that really it made me like the movie even more, you guys pointing that out, as if I couldn't. But there's some things and maybe even a few criticisms we want to talk about. We can't get into the spoilers, but Jerry, are you done with non-spoiler stuff? Everybody good?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's go ahead and roll the reel forward to spoilers. So, spoilers for Captain America, the Winter Soldier, starting now. All right, you want to talk about a criticism, Andrew, since we're carrying over from the last section of the podcast?
I would love
is
for you to.
that Nick Fury, once again, Marvel has killed a character, made you think they've, kind of raised the stakes and brought him back to life, as they do Agent Coulson in the Avengers, which is the most wide-known spoiler ever now.
I thought this was more impactful, and I honestly thought that he was dead. Like, as soon as he was killed, I'm like, are his film contracts up? Is he done with the Marvel movies and they just decided to kill him off? Like, I wasn't surprised when they brought him back, but like, I honestly believed. No, I definitely believed he could be dead. That would have been the end of it. No, but I also believed that he would have come back at the after credit scene. Like, that's what I was waiting on, for him to come back after the credits.
I'm kind of, the one complaint I have is that I'm tired of them.
It was great.
Well, I'm tired of them killing a character and bringing them
Nick
back.
Fury.
Are they ever going to kill a character?
That's Nick Fury. I mean, I don't watch the S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show, but I'm pretty sure Agent Coulson is dead, from what I understand.
No, are we spoiling S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show?
I haven't watched it.
I mean, obviously he's the main star of it. It came out after Avengers, so I don't think that's...
He's not dead.
He's not dead? Because in the first episode, they're like, he doesn't know. I thought he was a robot in the show, honestly.
No. It is the Agent Coulson.
It is? Interesting. Yeah. Maybe I'll watch a show. Probably not, though.
So I was kind of...
getting better.
I was kind of wondering, there were some cool call-outs to other characters. There's obviously a point where...
Doctor Strange.
Stephen Strange is mentioned. I'm kind of surprised that there wasn't any appearance of Clark Gregg, though, as Agent Coulson.
Yeah, I was kind of waiting on that, too. I thought that's who was going to be in there when they went to that base.
Yeah,
I was like, here's Coulson.
I had no clue what was going on.
Were there any Was any of the cast from the Shield TV show in that movie?
No, none. And it would have been a
Kobe Smulders.
Well, yeah.
She's been on 2 episodes, I believe.
And then the nurse that lives across from Steve Rogers, that's Sharon Carter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is Sharon Carter, Agent 13, Peggy Carter's daughter, which they
Probably
mentioned-
granddaughter in this, right?
I missed
didn't
that.
catch
Yes,
that.
granddaughter, yeah. And we're saying that, they mentioned, they call her Sharon, and they call her Agent 13, but they never say Carter.
Yeah.
We're to assume that she is, anybody that's ever picked up a Captain America comic. But
Yeah, because she's in every issue of Captain America.
she's almost
Yeah.
in every issue of Captain America. She's pretty
I've heard that
prominent.
before, but you definitely had to remind me while
I
you
knew who
watched that.
she was. Just
Did
thinking
you?
about that for a second.
Yeah, you knew who she
And once
was, right, Jerry?
I would have known once they
I-
said Sharon, but I didn't know
I brought
based on
it up.
Agent 13.
But what about the characters who we see here in this? The guy is not Fing Fong Boom. His name's Patrick the Leaper. That's his name.
I
He
think-
was the MMA fighter, Brian
Okay.
St. Pierre.
I want to see the end of the film when the aircraft carriers, whatever, are they're attacking or they're locking on to all these different people. I want to stop that scene and pause
Yeah.
and read names.
Yeah.
Because there was definitely part where they were at Stark Towers or whatever, and it looked like they were targeting Tony Stark.
Somebody will do that.
And they mentioned Tony Stark at one point.
I'm so
I
that's
feel
two
like they
things.
said Iron Man 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, they mentioned
did.
Stark, and they had.
And then
I'm
talking about the repulsor technology from the hovercrafts.
Yeah.
I'm
Hover
not
carriers.
I'm not
Helicarriers.
I'm not
Helicarriers.
surprised, but I wish Iron Man would have showed up at some point. But we know after Iron Man 3, it's Tony Stark is in his own headspace thing, and but I really wish he could have showed up at the end. You know what I mean? That maybe he could. I would just been cool to see him in there near the end. I really wondered though, where was Hawkeye during this film? He
Yeah.
seemed like he'd be perfect for this. He could have been off on a mission doing
But
something.
They will explain
something
that in
maybe,
Avengers because apparently he has a major role along with the new
God, I
costume
love Hawkeye.
in Avengers 2. So I think that will be explained. But I almost thought when Colby Smulders showed up as Maria Hill and saved the day in that one scene when she was dressed as the SWAT team guy.
Yeah.
Almost kind of a callback to Jim Gordon as the
Yeah.
SWAT team
That
guy
made me
in
think about
Dark
that
Knight.
too. Yeah.
But I thought that was maybe Clint Barton in there.
I forget who I thought that was, but yeah.
That would have crossed my mind. I wasn't exactly expecting. I'm like, could that be
I thought it was
Hawkeye?
either going to be her or Agent Coulson.
But they didn't even.
Oh, that'd have been cool.
They
too.
didn't even.
Yeah.
I thought it was Agent 13. That's what I
That
thought
would
it
have
was.
been good too. They could a couple
Yeah.
different people you could have put there, but
Yeah.
it was cool to see them kind of. Maria Hill got some stuff to do in this movie.
She sure
did.
Yeah.
Which I was glad to see. She played
Yeah, that
a
was nice.
prominent role, but. I talked about the opening scene. They had Patrick the Leaper in there, who I thought was Fing Fang Foom, I was completely off. I was
You
trying to
thought he
figure
was
out,
Sin Fang Foom?
which apparently is a dragon.
That's a
right.
giant dragon.
Yeah, that's what I told him. And I was like,
That would be
wrong
more
on
for
that.
the Doctor Strange movie. I'm
Yeah,
imagining.
now I remember
Better
I had
fit.
names completely crossed up in my head.
I called everybody Zemo throughout the entire film, so
Yeah, he's
I
off.
knew who they were, but I'm like, I couldn't remember their names. I'm like, oh, it's Zemo, and it's like, well, it's exactly who I thought it was, but he's not Zemo.
No, it's Zola. No,
Zola.
Zemo. No, it's
Arnim Zola.
Yeah, he's in there.
I like that. I
That was
loved
great.
how they handled Arnim Zola, who was in the first Captain
Yeah.
America film, and that was so great that they brought him back. Like
and
using
in the form that you would, I mean,
that you typically see him as
Yeah.
some type of older computer technology.
yeah, with
That
the
was-
camera.
That was
and the
quite
camera.
brilliant. I
Let's
like
talk
that.
about the huge overarching spoiler that drives the whole plot.
Who's that Winter Soldier, Brad?
Well, not that.
Oh.
It's that. Now, that's not. It's that Hydra has infiltrated the
Oh,
U.S.
yeah.
government, and every
And
bad
SHIELD.
thing and SHIELD that has happened has been orchestrated by Hydra to the point that Americans are willing to give up all of their freedom just
Yeah.
for security.
Actually,
How
yeah.
well done was that?
They did,
I mean,
there was that one scene where Bill Belichick was part of Hydra, and that's why the Patriots won those Super Bowls,
Yeah.
even though they cheated and stuff.
Exactly.
But did nobody else catch that? I saw that. All right, but no, it was really cool. It was really well done. I wouldn't say it was necessarily set up in any of the films, but it was believable. It didn't seem like they were just retconning everything. Like, well,
Right,
wait a
right.
minute. Like, it was believable. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was a really interesting idea. I liked how Cap was just kind of questioning, because you see in the first Avengers that Nick Fury has his own agenda, basically. You start to get that in Avengers, and I like how they kind of continued that in this film. But then it turns out, even though Nick Fury maybe doesn't have the same ideals as Captain America, they're both pro-America and pro-freedom and that kind of stuff.
While we're on Armanzola,
Okay.
Andrew, you made a good point. You were talking to me in the movie theater about, could this be something... Could this advance in AI that allowed Zola to be what he is lead to kind
Ultron.
of sitting up Ultron?
Yeah, I mean, because he had this AI thing, and it was definitely in the computer systems and in the shield, and like there was the thumb drive that kept running around with.
Rewriting itself that we know now that AI is
I think
self-aware.
I think that'd be really cool. I'm pretty sure it was said that Tony somehow
is creating Ultron.
But maybe he could create the life model decoys, and this program could somehow get mixed in there. I think it'd be really cool. I don't know if that's the plan.
I can't wait to see how they handle Ultron.
Me too. They're going to screw it up.
Obviously, let's get to the name of the film, the spoiler that Jerry was alluding to, Winter Soldier, who most people, I think, coming in maybe, if you read comic books, know that Bucky Barnes is the Winter Soldier.
Was anybody surprised that Bucky was the Winter Soldier here?
Yeah.
Gina was.
I know. Oh my goodness! I can't believe honestly how many people almost spat that out right before the film started. Jen had no idea.
My bad.
There's so many because you mentioned the Winter Soldier is such a new character. Like for comic books, it's established. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We know that's who that is, but it's not. It's not in the. It is now, but like not that many people know that. No one.
It's a hard thing to. It's
really weird. It's in this in-between state of becoming pop culture, I felt like. But it's not like a big thing like, Batman's parents are going to die. King Kong's going to fall off a skyscraper.
It'd be like if there was a movie like, about the Red Hood.
Right, yeah.
With Red Hood. And like, I mean, for me, it's just like second nature. Well, yeah, the Red Hood is either the Joker or it's Jason Todd, depending on what what era you're talking about.
You did?
No.
But yeah, exactly. And so here's Gina.
It's like the Red Hood is Jason Todd. Wait, who's Jason Todd? He's Robin. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that would have been me, 10 years ago. So being married to...
Yeah, and I'm
granted,
glad...
that would have been before Under the Red Hood came out.
I'm glad Andrew stopped me because I was talking to somebody we were with, and I was about to...
He was like, who is the Winter Soldier? I'm like, we're about to see a movie called Winter Soldier. Just wait.
But
you'll find out.
Let's talk about Bucky a little bit. Let's talk about Sebastian Shaw's performance here. Because Winter Soldier is...
what's his name?
Is his name Sebastian Shaw?
Sebastian Shaw was the guy who played the older Anakin Skywalker in the original Star Wars.
That's also the name of the guy who plays Bucky as well. I'm about to double check that. It's Sebastian something. Let me check that. That would be really weird coincidence if they were both... Oh, give me a second just to look
Sebastian
this up.
the Crab? Lobster?
His name is Sebastian, who plays
Crab from the
Bucky.
Mermaid Show.
Hold on, give me one second. Sebastian...
Mermaid Show?
I'm sorry, Jerry. It's Sebastian Stan. Not Sebastian Shaw, who is the guy in Return of the Jedi who plays Darth Vader.
Who plays Anakin once his helmet's off.
My bad.
Okay.
So, Sebastian Stan. But here, we have more of a... Instead of maybe of a memorable performance, we have a chilling performance. Because
really creepy.
Winter Soldier doesn't have a whole lot to say, but that's the character, right? It isn't a lack of performance from Sebastian Stan's point of view. So I think as much
Winter
as...
Soldier is chilling, says the Epic Review.
I was going to say, I was really waiting for Arnold Schwarzenegger to be Winter Soldier, but that's fine. It's okay.
It was hard for me to be like, he is one... As much as I love this Winter Soldier story, it's hard for me to say, I put him up there with the best comic book movie villains as far as Heath Ledger's Joker, Loki, Tom Hiddleston as Loki. I'll say even Alfred Molina as Doc Ock for me. It's hard for me to put him up there because he doesn't get much to say, and that is...
He doesn't have a lot of screen time, honestly. I mean, there's a lot
but
of
when it's done, it's almost effectively done, right?
Yeah.
He does
and it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was done very, very well. It was, but he didn't have a lot of screen time, and a lot of it you don't even hear him talk until
I don't
for a long time.
I don't mean this as like they're both wearing masks type thing, but he kind of reminds me of Bane almost in that he's this very powerful kind of guy, and he's obviously has his own kind of strategic mind, not to the same degree as Bane, but he's being kind of used by these other people, and he's kind of the can bring Captain America down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The same way that Bane almost brought
I think
Batman
Bane's
down.
character was a little more developed within the context of the films.
Yeah.
Than
He was a
Bucky
mixture of
in these
both
films.
movie Banes almost. Where the one movie Bane was just pure muscle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The other one was a lot more had his own stuff going for him.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
see, and I was saying something before we even started the podcast, and they said, "Wait, let's talk about this in the podcast." But I was talking about how I didn't feel like he was really that prominent of a character.
Not at the beginning, definitely not.
Where I felt like, why is this even called Winter Soldier? Other than the fact that they're maybe introducing him as a character, but he's not the focus of the film. We're not trying to save the world from him. He's
Sure.
almost like a side character.
I think he was very important by the end, though.
And I think
Yeah.
a lot of this has to do with
He's very important to Steve.
how
Yeah.
maybe poorly set up the Joe Johnston film developed. Maybe it didn't do a terrible job of developing the Steve Rogers Bucky Barnes relationship.
Yeah.
The Joe Johnston film, but it didn't do the job that the Ed Brubaker comics did as well. So it was kind of like, here they're doing a great job as the Winter Soldier, and it's supposed to have stakes because of this movie that this other guy directed, who maybe didn't do the best job of setting up this backstory. You know what I'm saying?
I definitely like a younger Bucky too.
Yeah.
I like the more of a sidekick rather than this guy who was more Captain America's buddy and stuff. It doesn't make as much sense if they had this young kid running around with Captain America in the movie.
Exactly.
In the comic, he's his age. It's more like this.
Well, I've definitely seen a young Bucky as well. Though.
The older stuff is the very young Bucky.
Yeah, he's almost more like Robin then.
Yeah. So, Bucky was obviously around during the original when Joe Simon created Captain America. Because this is one that Stan Lee did not create Captain America. He was created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. Yeah. Even though Stan Lee cameos and will probably tell everybody who will listen that he created Captain America, he actually didn't. But Bucky was created way back when, right? But they didn't have that Bucky Winter Soldier element until like 2006, 2005.
That's a fairly new storyline.
Yeah, it is fairly new. But how about one scene that I think, Andrew, you will appreciate as well, being as big of an Ultimate fanboy as you are, when he goes back and visits Peggy Carter. And she's old. And there's a scene in the Ultimates comics where she is actually married to Bucky, which is not the case here. And I remember you let me borrow your graphic of that, and the first time I read it, I know I sound like such a wuss in this because I cried at How I Met Your Mother, but that brought me to tears too when I first read that issue. And this, I don't know if it was that powerful, but it was very well done.
That was one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, it was cool.
And that was a scene that actually got cut from Avengers. It was supposed to be in Avengers where he goes and visits Peggy.
Really? I'm also interested to see how this, because now he's out there. He wants to find Bucky. At the end of this film, it's all about him going to try and find Bucky. How is that going to be resolved? Before, I mean, we've had plot points in these Avenger films that they kind of threw off to the side when the Avengers movie came up. Like Jane Foster and Thor, Captain America getting reacquainted was kind of brought up in the Avengers film. But like this is such a thing where it's like it seems to be this is immediately going to drive what he does next. How is that going to be handled in the Avengers 2 film? As well as what happened in Iron Man 3. I'm really interested. Avengers 2 is going to be so crazy.
Well, the Bucky, the guy Sebastian Stan, not Sebastian Shaw. Sebastian Stan just signed, extended his deal with Marvel for 9 more pictures.
Oh my God!
So post this, 9 more films. Sebastian Stan. Apparently, they have Marvel films planned through a tentative plan. They said this week through 2025.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Sebastian Stan will probably, as Bucky does in the comic books, wind up taking over the mantle as Captain America some point down the road. I would imagine when Chris Evans' contract runs out.
We have War Machine movie.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how they handle this, but I don't want to. I mean, do we want to dive too much into how this film ended? It was, God, what an epic scene with 3 hell carriers in the air.
Yeah.
And he's confronting Bucky in one of these helicarriers, and you just have Falcon swooping in, and I mean, it was just like the definition of what we call an epic scene.
So to get back into what we were talking about in the non-spoiler section about superheroes taking their masks off,
which is
like
your biggest pet
It is a
peeve.
big pet peeve. I understand the Hollywood reason behind it. I respect the fact that actors want to get themselves out there. Like, this is their big break. They're in this big production, and they want to get themselves out there. But a lot of times it's just, at the end of the movie, Spider-Man's mask is off again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just kind of silly. But, like, this is, like... I mean, it really made sense. He's really trying to... Bucky obviously knows him more as Steve Rogers and Captain America. Because in the first film, they only spent so much time after he was inducted or injected with the super
soldier serum.
Yeah. So it made sense in this film. I make fun of it, but it really did make sense, especially at the end of this film, why that was.
What did you guys think of Robert Redford's performance as Alexander Pierce?
I thought it was radical.
Film?
Very well done.
I mean, it's pretty big that Marvel Studios has got to the point where they can pull in a guy like Robert Redford.
That was pretty
Wow.
good. Give him a good, a good part. That
Yeah, it definitely it made sense, right? That he was in this.
It's interesting to me that with both Captain America films, they've pulled somebody in that appeals to a little bit older demographic. Captain America had Tommy Lee Jones.
Yes.
This had Robert Redford, which maybe is because Captain America has that very nostalgic connection to it. A lot of people recognize Captain America from their childhood more so than who recognize, Iron Man or
Absolutely. I mean,
like that.
Cap's been around since the 40s, about when Joe Simon and Jack Kirby created him. So it was pretty. It is such an enduring character, maybe more so than any of the other Marvel characters. It's been around so long. But what else do we want to say here? Do we want to get into post-credit stuff?
Sure, why
Let's
not?
talk about the post-credits real quick, because some people left before the...
Who did that?
Oh, my God. Who would have... You left?
You left before the... Have you seen a superhero
Guys.
film in the last, 10 years?
This is the best post-credit scene for me since Nick Fury
I
showed
know.
up.
That's one thing. When Nick Fury was, when we first thought he was dead at the beginning of the film, I thought back to him showing up at the end of Iron Man. I'm like, Nick Fury, no.
He's
man.
been with you so long.
Yeah,
right?
since the very beginning, man.
But
been behind it all.
Everybody's
She was upset
kinda,
too.
See, yeah.
Everybody's kind of hyping up. One of my friends said this is the best post-credit scene since Fury showed up, and it cuts to it, and it's showing Von Strucker, and I'm like, okay, I knew he was going to be in the beginning of Avengers. This is not going to impress me.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they show Loki staff, and I'm like, cool, but is that really
No, I did
supposed
see
to
that
impress
one.
me?
I saw that one.
And then they show Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, and how they're being portrayed as Scarlet Witch is kind of just with telekinesis, just moving these objects around, and how Pietro is moving.
Yeah,
right.
so cool.
I mean,
so cool.
Those characters are huge, and Scarlet Witch she can alter reality. I mean, she is so powerful and such a. I'm going to use the word. She is a game changer for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She really is, and wow.
Well, and that was interesting, too. We know the whole thing that the Marvel Studios can't use the term mutants in their films.
And they can't refer to Magneto.
Right, can't refer to Magneto, can't use mutants. But they called them an Age of Miracles. And that was an interesting to bring in this new, another facet of the Marvel Universe into the Marvel Studios films, saying, calling them miracles.
They are mutants without saying it, right?
That's
I
an
mean,
interesting way of
and one of the most.
But they're not genetic mutants in the sense that it's the next evolution of humankind. They talked about they talked about experiments, and they said we'll bury the ones such and such and such. What are we going to do with the survivors? And that's when they showed us the two.
But are they able to survive the experience because something is genetically different about them?
Yeah, it seems to me that they might be changing the idea of mutant for this universe to make it more something.
Well, they found a loophole, didn't they?
Yes.
And one of the most fascinating things about Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in the comics is that they are Magneto's kids.
Yeah.
And
bad guys prior to joining the Avengers.
Yeah, is not having that element here going to take anything away from these characters, Stokes?
I think, like, when they had the same thing they did with Hawkeye in the first Avengers, where Hawkeye in the comics was a villain before he became a good guy, and how they kind of, like, you know, had Loki mind control him, so he was able to become a villain, kind of, you know what I mean, but still fit into the movie. I wouldn't be surprised maybe they did something like that with these guys, where Strucker uses them as villains, but maybe they become heroes by the end or something.
Which will probably wind up what happened, or at least one of them will become a hero. And that's just...
What if one of them dies?
I hope not.
They'll be
soon.
back.
I just hope that...
They'll be back at the end?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they always come back in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just... I don't know, to see Wanda Maximoff in there, knowing we're going to have Vision, and knowing we're going to have Ultron, and it's just...
Will it be too much?
And we're going to have Strucker, and it seems like... And we're going to... Thanos is looming somewhere, and the Guardians are looming somewhere. It seems like it's going to be too much, and if this was Sony, I would be like, this isn't going to work. But knowing how well Marvel
So far,
Studios
everything's
has
worked
juggled
fine.
these elements, until they mess up, we can't be too worried, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm not. I mean, I can't. I want to. It's so going to be so interesting to see how powerful they portray Wanda Maximoff, because she is as powerful as a Jean Grey, right? That's how powerful
She can be.
she is.
I mean, there's different versions of her. you
Yeah,
know
there's
what I mean?
different. I guess the one I always think of is the House of M.
Yeah.
That's
like super powerful Phoenix level stuff going on there.
where she changes reality.
The whole No More Mutants
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. It's just. I can't wait to see how Wanda Maximoff in an Avengers movie with Iron Man, with Captain America.
With Quicksilver. I'm excited to see Quicksilver.
Yeah, and it's going to be, how about Days of Future Past? Quicksilver and Wanda Maximoff are in that movie
That's
as
gonna
well.
be crazy.
That's gonna be
Different
crazy,
actors, right?
Yeah,
I
different
really
actors.
wish they casted the same two. I understand why they would,
Yeah, of
but
course they could.
anyway, it's so cool.
But I'm just, isn't it, okay, Wanda Maximoff and Quicksilver are just, I'm going to use the word again, game changers when it comes to mutants and not just Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it seems like to me in Days of Future Past,
Yeah.
two of their biggest mutant characters, they're just glossing over. I feel like, I don't know, hadn't seen the film, but they're just kind of going to be thrown in there.
I mean, that kind of happens with any X-Men. Even the good ones, like Colossus was kind of glossed
Yeah.
over. Cyclops is almost glossed over the entire X-Men franchise.
Whereas Marvel Studios is essentially taking those and, hey, we're making them major plot points.
We'll see.
I mean, they're out using these mutant characters, even if they're calling them miracle characters or whatever. They're using them more effectively as a plot device than the people who own the rights to the mutants do. And you know, how bad does it piss Fox off that Marvel's beat them to the punch with using Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch? Because it's got to, right? I mean,
It's got to grind their gears.
it does, just a little bit. Go ahead.
I have a question. Does the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe take place in Abed's imagination?
That was crazy. That Danny Pudi was in there.
Yeah,
Pudi?
and plus the one of the professors from one of the earlier episodes, he was next to him as well. So
he's in this movie.
yeah,
Abed's in it.
yeah, one of the brothers, or maybe both of them that directed the movie, they've also directed a Community episode or two as
Joe
well.
and
So,
Anthony Russo.
what I couldn't see his name tag. Was that Abed himself,
I
or
couldn't
just
see
he
it.
definitely acted like Abed? That's for sure.
And Abed was one of the people on the hit list of the Hell Carriers. Greendale Community College was on the hit list. Did you see that?
No, are you serious?
I'm lying.
No, man. I would be there's so many names there. I would not be surprised at
I
all.
would love to see what
How
other
crazy.
names were on there.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it's going to hit the web here in a day or so. Somebody's going to
Get on the internet.
Yeah, hurry up, right?
Yeah, deliver it
what
to
about
us.
the last post-credit scene where we see...
Yeah, what was it? I don't remember.
where, Bucky shows up and visits the Howling Commandos kind of exhibit.
The Winter Soldier will be back in Avengers.
It didn't say that. It just said Cap.
Captain America will be back.
Well, it's a good thing Captain America was going out looking for him. He doesn't have to go far, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, he's right there at the Smithsonian, right?
Yep.
I mean...
But that really is a good thing to start setting him up as possibly turning into a
who will wield the shield?
sympathetic or hero character.
Yeah, exactly.
I liked that Captain America also put on his old school costume for like the end of the
That
movie.
was
That was
very
really
cool.
cool.
I took it from the Smithsonian, and that was the Stan Lee
Yeah.
cameo right there as the security guard. So that was a pretty good cameo. But man, this is so. Is it?
Epic.
I mean, I think from what we said, is there anybody here not confirming this epic? Is anybody going with a great and a half or a great?
I was gonna go with a great and 3/4.
Get out.
Not quite.
That's not a
epic.
real rating, Gina.
But why?
You
Gina,
make it
why
up.
what kept it from being epic? to
I
you?
don't know, because
What
I've
could they have
been
done
I've been
better?
thinking about it, and I don't know. There was just
Great 7/10.
epic.
Epic and a half.
There's
Okay.
not really. I don't know. It was just there's like a feeling that I get in every movie that I rate an epic, and I
Yeah.
didn't fully get it. There were moments of it, but I didn't fully get it in this film.
I don't think it's a it didn't. I don't want to say it like it transcended the superhero genre, where it was like, this is a movie that can be considered not only one of the best superhero movies, but one of the best movies of the past 10 years. It may be not. It's not that good, like say The Dark Knight, but it's pretty dang good with as far as talking superhero movies.
Yeah,
right.
I'd probably say great and a half just because it didn't make Brad cry.
It didn't make me cry. No, it did not.
No, but I would definitely.
Superman was a very emotional. I thought Superman was a very
Man of
emotional
Steel?
film. Yeah, Man of Steel.
Man is still. I tear.
I mean,
up.
I understand.
multiple
I can
times.
understand with some of those scenes, your
Multiple
eyes get blurry
times.
and start tearing. I understand that.
I didn't like Superman. I mean, I don't like Superman as a character near as much as I do.
That's
Cap.
such a huge
But
disappointment. I don't
something
know
about
what,
that
I
movie
don't get
got
it.
to me emotionally.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but
I'm gonna
maybe.
say
If you find out, let me know.
And speaking of
'Cause
which,
I don't
that
know
was
if
the
you've been
last
either.
time that we had this whole group together. The podcast
Yeah.
was
What?
Man of
Andrew
Steel.
wasn't there.
Oh yeah.
Wait, for what?
No, that was Iron Man 3.
For Iron
that
Man
was
3.
well, me, you, Gina, Kristen. I was there
He
via
was in and
Skype.
out for
Yeah.
Iron Man 3,
And
right?
somebody else.
In and out. Yeah, I was phasing in between realities.
Somebody else was
Yeah.
there too. I thought.
For Iron Man 3.
Probably
Who else was
Tracy
there?
might have just been listening in. Which
She
just
might have.
I mean,
Yeah, she may have been in the room.
We were all there. You phased in as
So
well.
great and a half for you,
I phased
Jerry.
in at some
Epic.
point, yeah.
Well, if I could,
Yeah, epic.
I think it's better
She
than
says I
a great
kinda
and a
was.
half, but I just can't give it that full epic.
Is it lacking that emotional touch? Is
I
it
think what
lacking the
happened- no,
epic
I think what
scene?
happened
is it
is-
lacking?
Like I said, I really disliked the first one, and I was going into this one thinking, I'm going to feel the same about it as I did the first one. And for most of it, I didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
I felt like it was completely different until close to the end. I think once they got into the giant computer, that's the thing that threw me
Armanzola.
off. Yeah, that was the thing where I was like, really?
He has a name.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, but that is a
But that-
comic book character.
Yeah, that was
Well,
really
and
good.
and once you explain that, that's riffing back to the comic book, and he's seen in the
And
comic book as the old timey computer.
And did you recognize the character from the first? Being
Yeah.
a character from the first?
Yes,
film?
yeah,
Okay,
I knew who he
okay.
was from the first
Yeah,
film.
good.
But it was that whole they connected me up to a computer, and I took over the computer system. And I was like,
Well, you're gonna hate Age of Ultron,
I know.
right? I mean,
Wait till Herbie comes back in Fantastic Four.
don't go see Transcendence.
it gave me that tiny little throwback feeling to the first movie, and I was just
Man,
like,
if they could bring Red Skull back, I know Hugo Weaving doesn't want to.
I would
Yeah.
love.
God, if they could bring him back in some degree, or essentially surprise us with it.
Yeah.
Have him show up at the end of Captain America 3 as like the main. He's behind everything forever. Oh,
Or he
man.
murders Cap, and
That-
then
that
we
would
see
be
Sebastian
stupid. That'd be
Stan take
stupid.
over.
No, I was kidding. I guess that'd be all right.
If Sebastian Stan takes over the Shield later on, as Captain America, Bucky does end up doing that, I hope that they have the guts to kill off Steve Rogers. I really do. I mean, I know that may be a bit dark for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but that was a real meaningful kill-off in comics. And, everybody comes back, but that was 2 years is a long time to
Yeah.
be dead in comic books, right, Jerry?
Yeah, that is a long time.
Death ain't nothing but a thing.
Kristen, epic.
Yeah, probably.
And we all know Jerry is an epic here. Andrew's epic. I'm
Confirmed
confirmed epic. Anything else we want to say about this? Or we're going to put Captain America Winter Soldier on ice.
Oh wow,
Wow.
that was a good one.
Yeah, I know.
No, write that one down. I had to tell that one again.
For me, my final thought is it was truly great storytelling in that it was a self-contained Captain America political thriller type movie. But at the same time, Marvel gets me pumped for their next big thing.
Yep.
Right? I mean,
You're looking forward to the next thing.
Yeah.
they always got you
You want
looking.
it, yeah.
Want more. I mean,
Hey, man, Guardians looks more fantastic
Oh, man.
every time I watch that
Yeah.
It really
trailer.
does.
yeah, I'm excited about Guardians.
I
It's funny how I have not seen any new footage other than that trailer. It still gets me more and more pumped.
Yeah, ditto.
Our next episode will probably most likely be our top 10 most anticipated movies of the summer.
I hope you're
And
excited. I'm anticipating that episode of this podcast.
Me too, and I can't wait to see where Guardians will fall on each of our lists. That will
At this
be
point,
very
Guardians,
interesting.
well,
Don't say anything.
No
Jerry. Hold on to
spoilers,
that.
Jerry.
but I will say my number 2. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, so that's just gonna about wrap things up for the 26th edition of the Confirmed Epic Podcast. Jerry
26,
Reed,
all right.
where can we find more of your work and stuff this week?
Once again, I'll be putting up a lot of new reviews and things on the epicreview.com. That's www.thepicreview.com.
What about you, Gina? We can find all of your stuff. We're at on the web.
Nowhere, because I'm possibly moving this next week, so I won't be doing anything.
We'll find you on Twitter at Gina Beaner, tweeting about moving and life experiences.
Sure, whatever.
Kristen, we can find you on Twitter, right?
I'm on there, yes.
What's your screen name on there?
Erithalia. I haven't actually logged in ages.
That's Erithalia.
All right, Stokes.
You can follow me on Twitter at ChristJuggernaut. The other day, like yesterday, I seriously almost really tweeted something this time. I instead put it on Facebook, but I was really close to doing it. You can also find my work on the Epic Review. That's thepicreview.com. You can check out such great articles as my top 10 most anticipated video games of 2013. Brad, where can you find stuff about you?
You can find me at Twitter at The Real Brad Bell. That's REEL Brad Bell. And you can find me sometimes on the epicreview.com. I know I wasn't on there this week, but, life throws you a curveball every once in a while.
You get a free baseball.
You get a free baseball package for a week, so what can I say? So
I have a free baseball in my yard. on a somewhat related note. It's a true story.
Always remember, you can email us at thepicreview@gmail.com. If you're somebody, and this is the first time we've mentioned this, and we've had, 50 to 90 listeners at times on the podcast.
Over 100 for the last one.
Oh, okay. Over 100 listeners for the last podcast. But if you're one of the people who downloads us on iTunes, go to iTunes and give us a review or a rating on there. 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, or epic. Whatever. However you feel that we're doing, rate us on there, because that will definitely help us out.
Unless you give us 1 star, that won't help us out.
But at least we know you're listening. And we mentioned, email us if you want older episodes of
If
the
you're
show.
giving us 1 star, why are you still listening? Just stop. Just give it up. Don't listen.
They're
No, I'm just
hate
kidding. Keep
listening.
downloading.
They're hate listening.
You can hate listen all you want. Just keep downloading.
and email us if you want older episodes. We have those. We have the MP3s. We'd gladly email
We
them
have the
to
technology.
you. Yes, absolutely. And I know there's something that we always have when Mr. Stokes is on the podcast. Andrew?
Oh, well, that's right. We have a great edition of Andrew's Awesome Animal Facts. All right? Now, today's Awesome Andrew Animal Facts, whatever it's called, ties into Captain America, the Winter Soldier. All right? In this film, we had a guy played the Falcon. All right? Now, there's a lot of great bird facts out there that I could regale you with, but I'm instead going to regale you with this one. Flamingos sometimes have been known to stand in water.
Yes.
I think we've had that one before.
No, we had another one about flamingos. What was that fact? You'll have to go back and listen.
Yeah, email us if you want that.
Also, email us your questions if you want to hear Andrew's awesome animal facts about a specific animal, aardvarks, anteaters, or any other letter. Let us know, and we'll see what we can do.
And fill our money slot.
Yeah.
Donate to us on PayPal so that we can have all these episodes archived, which we've been doing a better job as far as timing and keeping episodes down so that we can keep these archived based on the payment plan we use on Podbean. However, this is a long episode, so it will throw us off, so donate.
We have a special tier of donating now, where if you donate at least $25, we will send you an actual vial of Brad's tears. So There's a lot of them to go around.
We have that. There's different editions. We have the How I Met Your Mother edition, the Man of Steel edition, the Dark Knight Rises
That
edition.
time he fell down and hurt his knee edition.
Yes, we have several of these. And guys, thanks for listening to this edition of the Confirmed Epic Podcast, where we will gladly fill your podcast slot each and every week and a half to 2 weeks to once a month. And until next time, we are out.